kind of get this game to go as long as possible against Meteor, you're going to have a pretty good shot at winning the series. I think the biggest thing was Beastmaster is going to be highly contested between a lot of these teams here in Div 2, but I think for Meteor, that's a hero that they rely on a whole lot of. Molasses, I feel like it's probably one of his better heroes as well, and another one of those lane dominators where he's really able to just kind of group up with his team. They want to try and get a lot of their combinations with Echoes as well as try and just get this early game rolling for them, take some early towers, and Beastmaster really enables that. So fortunately for Meteor, starting 0-2 here in the tour, they kind of need to have almost a perfect record if they want to go towards the Division 1 this time around, but there's still plenty of games to go.
Dire team
of course,
battle.
we're gonna have plenty of games today. Rounding out the day with Team Life with Picky Killer, that Picky Killer squad looking like the strongest squad in the region so far. Second series of the day being Supernova versus IG Vitality. Of course, we start the day off Lonely Rock and Roll taking on Poke Gaming. Poke Gaming are right now 1-1 in the leaderboard, we saw a little earlier. So for them, it's just good times if they end up winning. However, for Lonely Rock and Roll also being 1-1, this does mean that whoever wins here is starting to score 2-1. You could have a chance to go to number 1, but starting off 1 and 2, you start to ask questions about exactly what's going to be happening. So we're going to be seeing how things shake out in this game between the two squads, Poke Gaming versus Lonely Rock and Roll. The draft is already underway, I believe. We're getting fairly deep into it, and it's going to be fun to see exactly what the hero composition is going to be like. And although the viewers at home cannot see it, the one hero that you should be aware of, since we are covering China, is you need to watch out for this Enchantress hero. As we see right now, the esportsbet.io odds between the two squads. Of course, we are launching a watch-to-earn platform through esportsbet.io, so very important to get yourself involved in that because you earn 3,000 tokens, the equivalent of about $3 every single hour that you're involved, and that means that you're not just a spectator, but you're a participant in making sure that the Dota that you watch and the Dota that you enjoy is as sustainable as possible, as enjoyable as possible. Trust me, the experience is going to be good for you. Fluke, do you think the odds are, this is a fair assessment of what the odds should be between these two squads based on the games that we've seen from them, 1.7 versus 2.1 right now?
I think both these two teams, you can't really pull them apart too much. I think maybe Poke's experience could be something that's going to really pull them out here and kind of what the draft we're going to get. And as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end of it, so there's quite a lot of stuff for us to unpack here. The opening bands, relatively straightforward throughout the entirety of the region. First picks is something that we're going to be seeing a whole boatload of. As you said, Enchantress has been something that was absolutely dominating Division 1, so now we're going to be seeing it here in Division 2. China is, I feel like, the only region so far that is falling back on this Enchantress. Lane dominator, does so much against a lot of these other heroes, can play fast and has a lot of good scaling in the mid game as well. But Poke, they've decided to answer with the position 1 Pudge coming out here for them, so I'm excited to see what his combination is going to look like in that lane, because we've seen plenty of times Pudge CM has been the answer to Broodmother, so maybe that's kind of, they're just generalizing that answer to be, all right, it's not just a Broodmother counter, it's also a counter against all these other kind of heroes that like to have summons. So Beast Smash as well as Enchantress lane is going to be a little bit more difficult. The early couple of levels, though, is going to be a bit spicy because Enchantress can deal out a little bit of damage to the Pudge before he starts hitting that level 5, level 6 mark where he starts to get
Radiant team.
I'm already terrified by this opening draft. Like Enchantress, Beastmaster with Shadow Fiend as well. Lonely Rock and Roll, very clearly they've got dinner planned or something else later on because they want to end this series ASAP with these kind of heroes. They've got the clockwork to provide a body and to initiate team fights for them. So I really like their draft. The response from Poke Gaming, as you said, we've seen the CM Punch as a response to Broodmother, maybe the summons overall are weak to this, but I'm still, this Doom hero, whenever I see Disruptor right now, I don't want it to be played with a hero that has this massive cooldown like Doom. I want it to be played in situations like you have some Pango from the mid lane, you have offlane Bat Rider, some Death Prophet, maybe Primal Beast. But even if it does have a long cooldown, you can still kill heroes fairly easily during the Static Storm duration. Although this is a ton of disable for the Shadow Fiend, and I think that he's the only real target on the side here of Lonely Rock and Roll. But that just means you just buy a if you buy a BKB, somebody buys you a Lincoln Sphere, I think you play this game pretty easily as the SF, even though there is this Pudge in the game, it gets pretty tanky. They have damage, like quite a lot of it from Lonely Rock and Roll, just by sitting on the SF. So I don't know how I feel about this Doom Disruptor, especially since it's probably going to be our 3 and 4 this game, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to be the lane combination. You really want to try and make sure that you have like melee plus ranged a lot of the time, just so you don't get caught out by like a double range safe lane, and that still is kind of potential here for Lonely Rock and Roll. They can go Enchantress plus Shadowfade. That does make their safe lane a little weaker,
10
but
seconds
does mean that
remaining.
they can have a double range safe if they do want to go towards that. And
5
it is kind of
seconds
interesting that they
remaining.
picked the Doom into these first 2 heroes, because it's like you're kind of hard countering. Like they open with like Enchantress Ember Spirit, and you just go, okay, we're just going to Doom Ember every single team fight. Then you really can't do much. Shadowfade is going to be able to do stuff, because a lot of the times now people are still moving away from the magic build, but this time around, going up against the Doom, you're just going to go the physical build. You're just going to try and play things with like your Silver Edge. You're just going to get Satanic, you're going to get BKB, you're just going to try and stand and man fight. It is going to be harder into the Pudge, so that's why I want to see something coming in from Lonely Rock and Roll that can take out this Pudge in the mid lane, so something that just gives them that little bit of extra damage to deal with him early on. I like both of these bands. 2 heroes that is hard for Pudge to deal with. The Leshrac early on just deals an overwhelming amount of magic damage, which Pudge really can't deal with all too much. Once Flopkeep is down, he's kind of just going to burn himself to death with right, and then this magic damage comes through and does a lot of work for them. So something that gives them, right, yeah, I like the pucks. A hero that's a little slippery to catch, it's a lot of magic damage, and gives them a lot of team fight.
Feels like it's right in between the Ember and the Leshrac, right? There's Leshrac here that does overwhelming magic damage, being anchored in the fight. Then you have this Ember that creates the initiation and the chaos in the fights. And Puck gives you a little bit of both. And they don't necessarily need damage, right? They have more than enough of it in the Shadow Fiend if they can keep them alive in the fights. And now they have multiple ways to start fights for them. Clockwork can initiate, Puck can initiate. You keep them all in contention. And we have that lovely combination of the young Requiem into the Dream Coil from the Puck. Very fun to play. Poke Gaming, their response. All right, so we've been seeing this more and more often as well. This mid DK as a response to Ember, as a response to Puck, as a response to like all the flavor of the month mid laners. All right, I see it. This lineup is so beefy, Fluke. Look at this, dude. 3 heroes. Don't you wish you'd picked Timbersaw in this game?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely feel like if Lonely Rock and Roll weren't lacking a little bit on some of that team fight control, they definitely could have picked up the Timbersaw as their final pick. But the way it worked out now is Poke Gaming, they've got some good answers here. I'm not sure how I feel about the Pudge this time around. I don't think he really has kind of an overwhelming game for him to just snowball off of one hero. He can have a pretty good lane into the Beastmaster, but I'm very, very scared here for Ramfu now. Like this Puck is going to be able to get directly onto the Crystal Maiden's face. They've got Clockwork, Beastmaster, Enchantress, all heroes that is very, very hard for CM to deal with in these fights. She's going to have to try and get these ultis off early on. Maybe they might try and give Ramfu now a little bit of time for a little bit of this gold and put Eren a little bit, lower down on the net worth chart, so the CM can get to some of these items that allows her to keep herself alive in these team fights. But I'm liking both these drafts. I think neither of them have really kind of glaring issues. They're both able to take towers, they can post scale, they can take Roshan, team fight, they've got good wins. So yeah, I'm really liking both of these drafts coming in from both these 2 teams.
That's a perfect way to start the day, having some balanced draft between the squads. Also them sitting on 1-1, so balanced positions in the leaderboard. And I think it helps a lot that Poke Gaming, they've had experience in this arena. They played because to the ones that survived that big cull, so it shows that they were playing heads up. But on the other side, it's not like you to have unexperienced names on Lonely Rock and Roll. So it's gonna be fun to see if this new squad that they put together for Div 2 is actually gonna be able to make an impact. Number one, I agree that both drafts are pretty decent. I am always gonna favor Enchantress and Beastmaster together. This combination
Prepare
is
for battle.
the things I saw, man. LGD made me such a believer in this kind of drafting pattern. So I think if they can get off to a good early game, good first couple of waves, they should be pretty good to take over this game.
I'm keen to see if this is going to be as dominant as we've seen in Division 1, or whether or not maybe some of these Division 2 teams may not have the kind of finesse to work it out, because ENG can turn into one of those heroes that eventually she just kind of just becomes a smoke breaker. So very excited to see what Lonely Rock and Roll can do here and what Wenao can do as well.
One thing that is going to be a problem for them is they're going to have to find some routes of sustain. Whether it be Enchantress buying it, or this Beastmaster also getting on top of his normal stack of items. Hold on. You will see First Blood happening as Wenhao gives up First Blood to Lennifer. Well, that's not what they needed, because this Eng needs to buy Mech, needs to buy Greaves. Because you're going to lose a sustain war. Because look at, these 3 heroes are so tanky on the course. But 2 of them also have easy sources of regen in the midst of the fight. Pudge obviously has massive amounts of tank ability. Nobody in your team naturally buys Spirit Vessel. So you have to try and keep up with the sustain war. And Nature's Attendants, not going to cut it either. They need to try and find some solution down the stretch to actually be able to kill these heroes.
Yeah. So, try and turn away his favorites from the opening couple of minutes here. It was a nice invade coming in from Poke Gaming as well. They understand that a lot of their heroes are very, very strong. CM and Disruptor are two very, very strong heroes level 1. Their spells do a lot of damage and have low cooldown. So getting along Furl to a nice little start here in Pudge is exactly what you need, because he is one of those heroes that you can abuse his item timings, before he's able to get like the Vanguard, before he's able to get towards, maybe he might go like a Radiance this game or something. He can really start to be abused, and pre-BKB there's a lot of control he has to deal with, so if they can deal with him early and they can deal the damage to this Pudge, then he may not just be too much of a for them.
Early game, we're going to see how things shake out. This mid lane is supposed to be, from what as far as I understand this lane, it's supposed to be DK favorite, but we'll see how things go. Level 1, small KK did go for the Breathe Fire over and above getting Dragon Tail, so we'll see if this ends up. By level 2 should get the... Actually, level 3 doesn't get Dragon Tail at all. What's for the Dragon's Blood? Alright. Maybe just doing this for the first couple of waves so he's somewhat immune to the initial harass from the puck. But overall, it should be perfectly fine, yeah.
Yeah, it should be fine with it. Usually sometimes you see these Dragon Tails, as you say, get the Dragon Tail early, you just Dragon Tail the puck. Because he only has 1 armor, like if you get a few free right clicks out off on the puck, then that's when he's about half HP and can't play around with things like the Waning Rift. So this mid lane is probably going to be pretty straightforward until someone gets the rotation. There is some pretty decent rotating heroes from Poke. They don't really want to leave their lanes all too early though, so it'll be a little bit annoying. Whereas you can see when how he's able to get a few levels, could be a free kill. Why?
Top lane, free kill. Speaking of, it's going to be happening in favor of this Pudge as Lennifer gets a second kill available for this game. Wenhao went a little bit too far to try and look for revenge. And unfortunately, the old adage about digging 2 graves does apply. They end up losing both heroes. Bottom lane, they're looking for some quick revenge on some clockwork, and they do manage to kill him. Big kill and Aaron comboing up together. Big Cat actually has to watch himself here. Could be in a mortal situation if Killer does decide to bounce in onto him underneath its tier 1 tower. I think it's 2 kills, and you said that you wanted a good start for the Pudge. This is even better. Involved in 3 kills early on in the game. This feels very good to be Lennifer.
Yeah, it is. It's a scary little start here for Longfur. Right? Like he's getting very, very close to about 800 gold away from a Vanguard. Then YYY is going to have some issues being able to deal with him. He's gone for the ball early on because I think he realizes that maybe he might have to fall back to the jungle a lot sooner than what he would hope for. And this is kind of, I think, the reason why that Poke wanted to go for this Crystal Mountain combination, because not only does the CM deal with the summons, because she can frostbite them and kill off any of the creeps that they have, but the CM Punch combination is so strong because you just frostbite, or you can even just Crystal, and then if you hit a hook, then somebody is going to die because they do an overwhelming amount of magic damage early on, and just enables this Punch to get the snowball going. So this is something that Poke are going to play in the future. It could be pretty scary.
Down bottom, some scary things end up happening to the Doombringer as Killer find himself trapped inside these power cogs. Right click down after a couple of raises from Bitcan. Alright, feels good to be the SF in that situation. And they kind of need this SF to do a lot better. Top lane, they're not going to be able to get a kill off the back of this combination because Enchantress does zone them back, but there's so much more kill threat on that side of the map. And this is a problem, like the SF is their main source of damage as the game goes longer and longer, so they kind of need him to be doing well. Wasn't doing that well in the CS department. Got a lot of space off that prior kill. So Lanfa, top lane, I think they'll be hoping to try and get another kill between himself and Ranfu as soon as humanly possible to just keep the acceleration going for the Pudge. Is this one of these games where the Pudge should just be going for Aghanim Scepter ASAP, or are we envisioning a different item build coming out from Lanfa?
Yeah, he probably will. It'll probably just be some stock standard stuff from Longfur, right? Like, he'll go Vanguard into like an Aghanim Scepter. Like, you could try and go Radiance, but I feel like these days the Aghanim Scepter is just Radiance from steroids, and it just does so much better for you in these team fights to be able to abuse the rot Radiance that it gives you and just makes you this kind of unkillable tank. You get so many stats from it, so much HP. Oh no, why?
Oh no. He's definitely dead. Alright, being slowed down by those shots. They don't even need to commit the hook for this. That means that they still have the reserve if they want to use it onto Wenhao. And Wenhao gets frosted up. Might end up dying here, but the ball slow does its work to ensure that he's able to escape away from the situation. Nonetheless, though, even though they get the counter kill onto those Crystal Maiden, that's another death on Beast Monster, yet more credit in the bank for the Pudge. As Vanguard building into the phase boost, so feeling very good. You know who's not feeling good though, Fluke? Right now, who is not feeling good is Real in the mid lane. He's getting crushed, dude. And Small K.A.A. didn't even bother going for the Dragon Tail. He's doing this 2-0-3, man. This is just pure outskill in the mid lane.
Yeah, I really wasn't paying that much attention to the CS chart, but it really is, right? Like, you know, we talked about the fact that this is like Mechanics favored, but I don't think it's like Dragonite favored, right? And now there's a rotation towards the top. Longfur, I think he's gone a little bit too deep.
Let's see if they can bring him down here. Maybe can't keep deploy, but they do have access to the impetus. And between these heroes, they have access to the necessary damage. So they find themselves a kill. It does mean that the Shadow Fiend has to play alone down bottom for a little bit of time. But nonetheless, they're just happy to be able to slow down Longfur by any means necessary here in the early game. And sadly, they can't take the option of just quickly rotating this Puck over. Puck isn't even level 6 just yet. And if he tries to leave right now, then DK gets to apply some damage for free onto the tier 1 tower. So really good job being done in this mid lane. Although sometimes the kills come to you and life just becomes a lot easier. And Real will be experiencing these joys of life. Getting a quick CM kill brought to you by Bocce and the boys. Okay, that feels good.
Yeah. Just being able to, they just constantly get the pressure on Ramfu down, and he couldn't safely be able to circle back. But no big hand. Okay, he turns back around on the killer.
He went too far. He was hoping to try and get him down by just sheer right clicks. But if you look at the skill pool he's run for, he is 2 and 3. Doesn't have access to the Doom just yet. So a little bit optimistic down in that bottom lane about the prospect of killing a Shadow Fiend. This hero, surprisingly enough, even the person in the game can just stand his ground and just outlay a ton of damage into you.
And that's something I was about to talk about, right? I was questioning about what time that Bocce was going to go towards the top lane to try and get that kill onto Longfur. He kind of had his hand played because Longfur was directly underneath the T1 tower. That was too good to pass up, because once Shadow Fiend gets towards this point where he has a couple of levels in the raise, like the disruptor can try and abuse him, but as long as he's not like walking too far away from his tower or walking too close, then it's going to be too hard for them to kill him.
Okay, they're going to try and make a quick move onto this mid lane as A.K.A. got caught in by the Dream Coil just as the Puck hit level 6. They glimpse back these Shadow Fiends, but he's actually going to prefer that. Participate in the kill, go right back into the jungle, good times. I must say though, that move was super sick from Real. What they were doing is they're farming this camp. He's underneath an Observer Ward, and he literally goes with the Illusory Orb just as he hits 6 to try and cast his DK underneath the tower. Really well done. Bocce's been setting up so many kills, and they'll try to set up another in the top lane. Power clocks come out. They bring out the damage onto this Pudge. They do have access to the Primal Roar, but we'll see if they have enough right-click damage between the Enchantress and a couple extra heroes. They bring in reinforcements from Real, and that's going to be his successful rotation. Ranfordal, I don't think you're going to be escaping this one, my friend. Tries to get the Frostbite and potentially kill onto Bocce, but it's definitely going to cost his life. Gets brought down, giving a killing spree over towards this Puck. So the laning phase might not have been going well, but these last 90 seconds have been phenomenal for the Puck player.
Yeah, there's big props here to Lonely Rock and Roll. I think the way that they've been playing a lot of these lanes has been really, really good. Their rotations have been strong. Clockwork and Enchantress are 2 heroes. They can kind of just play on the map now. You've got a Shadow Fiend who's going to be self-sufficient. He's going to want to try and hit some creeps to make the rotation towards the bottom side to make sure that Killer just doesn't get a free tower. But you know that now that a lot of the emphasis is going to be towards getting this mid tier 1 tower down as fast as possible. Because folk want to try and unlock their dragon once he gets towards his Blink Dagger, and if they can get that tower early on, he can just farm the jungle and be safe about it. So they're really starting to amend some of the issues they had early on. Longfur has died twice in a row now. In that last fight, he didn't wait long enough to wait for the battery assault to be out because there was more TP rotations coming in, and he hoped that he could get a little bit of life still from the Dismember, but wasn't enough for him. He goes down, and now it's really starting to, momentum is swinging back towards Lonely Rock and Roll. And I want to see, once we start getting this Doom unlocked here for Killer, last time that we saw him play this Doom as well, he's played a lot of it. He is a very, very greedy Doom player. Doesn't get the Doom early on until he can see a kill open up. So once that Doom is unlocked, I would like to see them make a rotation towards Real and get that kill.
Well, no rotations just yet from Real. He wants to finish off some farm in the mid lane. They lose Clockwork in the top side of the map, but it happens. When there's the drop to CM Pudge, you are going to die if he ever gets scouted out. Somebody had to give the information for the team. It does mean that they have an option to maybe come towards that side of the map, but looks like everyone wants to finish up some next items. We can. Is coming up. Just picked up his Mark of Madness. In the top lane, yeah, the tower's under pressure, but they don't push the fastest on the side of Poke Gaming unless the DK is right there. So Smoke A.K.A, if he's not around, he's just chilling, still in the mid lane. Speaking of the DK, actually, what are you enjoying in terms of the build? Because we see a lot of them, like some version of Blink into PKB. Sometimes they go for the Might immediately, straight into the Magnum Scepter and the Manta style. What kind of game is this, do you think, for Smoke A.K.A?
I think it's a pretty stock-standard game for Small KK. The fact that he just needs to go Blink PKB and then probably just into Magnum Scepter, right? I don't think you need to be all too flashy. You got a decent amount of lock and be able to keep the puck in place when you need to. You need to just kind of be this tanky hero that can deal a bit of right click. So if you go towards the Aghanim set, you don't have to worry too much about the Shadow Fiend Magic build, and you can kind of just be tanky and deal with these heroes. Maybe we might see them along the lines of like a Silver Edge for them, but I don't know.
Up. They're trying to go onto this part. Lunfer might actually die to the Warpine Raider and Wild Axes. He's gone, and they still have a rotation coming in. Several heroes are making their way here from the Super Gang. They're not going to find the parts that they were hoping to find, but he's already dead, so they feel good about this one. But Bocce still looking for more, trying to find the angle for a potential hook shot. They missed out on position, but they might find an even better prize here as the DK goes into his ultimate. So not an easy target by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to go onto him inside the power cogs. They still have access to the Dream World to hold him in position. They can, though. It's not nearby. There's a static zone catching out of the two heroes. Both supports are going to be in danger, but they're going to supply enough damage to bring down the DK. Both of them do die in the process, but the big prize is the Dragon Knight. Can they catch the puck? Oh no, Killer! He gets access to the Tempest Toy. They're good forward. They catch the puck before he can jaunt away. So this should be a death onto the puck as well. Double kill for Killer as he shows up to help his team salvage the fight. So although they get the DK, it's so expensive, Luke. That was not worth it at the end of the day for Lonely Rock and Roll.
Yeah, the fact that Killer's able to get a lot more gold into his pocket as well. He's very close to BKB early on. Isn't going to go in towards that Blink dagger to try and catch that puck. So you're going to try and rely on his Disruptor to do that for him in the early game until he does pick up that Blink. But it's kind of what I said, right? I wanted to see Killer make their rotation as soon as he gets Doom, and he was able to meander his way towards the top lane, secure themselves a puck kill. That was within inches of it not being a puck kill, right? Like Real was able to get their Lucio all out. Maybe if he jaunted a little bit earlier, he wouldn't have been doomed. But either way, Killer picks up a nice sort of pull there onto the puck. He's very, very big. He's the biggest hero in the game right now. 7.5k net worth on the Doom, and in a minute or two he's going to have this BKB, and nobody's going to touch the Doom, and that could be a little bit rough for Lonely Rock and Roll. They have to deal with this BKB Doom, but he's not going to do a crazy amount of damage, so as long as Real can keep his distance and make sure he doesn't get Doom early on, then this starts to be relatively okay for them.
Jan 4 for 5 changes mid, and hookshot missed this from Bocce. Here's the TP rotation coming in. They're looking for initiation. Blink initiation going out into the shadow. They also managed to get the root down with the silence, going onto the disruptor. So they get the kill onto Clockwork, but it does cost both supports at the exact same time. Puck doing a great job blocking down the Raptor. Although the fight can flip into two directions. Blink forward still from the DK, goes on for Wenhao. And right behind the tier 1 tower is this Encounters. But she does manage to dodge away his hook. Not going to get out of position. Real comes in from the north side of the fight as well, applying damage towards this part. And with Big Can posturing in front of the tier 1 tower, they actually have to re-engage here. Prime will go onto the DK. They don't have the refuge power up though. They already utilized it earlier in the fight. So they have to retreat back in front of the tier 1 tower. They get a glimpse back onto the Beast Monster. Here comes Lanfur. They get the kill. However, after 8 people already gone away from Lanfur, Killer inside power card, but they activate the BKB. They delivered. Unfortunately, there's so much right click damage from Big Can, but they can't get the kill. Freezing field emerges from Lanfur down. He knows there's no way to cancel this. And you cancel SF slide with the ultimate. It takes his as well. But who the hell cares? Wenhao, the lone survivor of this fight. But Poke Gaming will fix that small issue. A small KK gets himself a triple kill. What a way to reveal your Blink Dagger in that fight. What a way to reveal your BKB for Doom. Everything coming up Poke in this mid-game engagement.
Yeah, that was a long engagement, and that really favors Poke, right? Because they're the ones that have things like Glimpse. They have a Crystal Maiden who can do a whole lot of the pudges as long as he has people close to him, he can deal the damage. And yeah, it was a little bit overzealous, I think, from Lonely Rock and Roll. They really wanted to try to abuse the Beastmaster when he came in with the Raw, but they just didn't have the follow-up with things like the Dream Core and the Requiem, so they couldn't get that combination going, and you can already see the issues they have with damage, right? Like, it's so hard for them to bring down Killer. He just walks in with his BKB. A lot of that damage gets mitigated. He just walks in, walks away, pops a stick, and feels good about it. So now we're looking at Poke, who started out the early game very strong. They lost a few kills, and now they've come in with a nice little mid-game engagement of a lot of their, off the back of a lot of their item timings, and now they're looking really good. They have lost a lot of their tier 1 towers and haven't really claimed many for themselves, though. So I'd like to see them try and transition a lot of this into objectives. They're getting close to a big item spike for Long Fur. Once he picks up the Aghanim Scepter, he's going to be very scary, and I think that's when it's going to be go time for them. But now Poker more than happy to just sit back for a little bit.
So the odds there from esportsbet.io are starting to shift quite rapidly in favor of Poke Gaming. 6-1 odds. So they really are up against it right now on the side of Lonely Rock and Roll. But they can still make magic happen. We see this clockwork realizing part of the problem. You were mentioning how good they are playing this long, drawn-out, sustained team fight on the side of Poke Gaming. And Bocce's like, well, we need Spirit Vessel, gang. We cannot play these fights without it. Nobody else on the team is going to get this early, so I'll take on the responsibility myself. Definitely a much-needed item in the situation. And Big Can also going for the BKB. It's not going to give him the damage, but at least it gives him more presence in the midst of these team fights.
Yeah, I think the big thing is they know that the Aghanim should be coming in maybe like another 5-10 minutes, so they want to make sure that they can hit their own overtime timings to deal with that. Spirit Vessel is a good one to be able to take down the Pudge early on, and obviously the BKB for DCAN to be outstanding. So, Poker going to hit some item timings, and they can stop this Roche. It could be big for them. Pass over the DD.
DD Rune still into the floor as well as the inner beast aura. I think the Disruptor knows about this. He's picking out the area, but it's too late. They've covered the angles. I don't think they'll be able to stop this. So this is pretty huge. They pick up an Aegis for themselves. This helps them recover this portion of the game, right? Because now Poke can't play aggressively into this Aegis. They're just gonna have to sit back, continue with their own palm, get their items on Pudge, so it gives them time to pick up this Dagon Puck and the PKB for this young SF. Still surprised we haven't seen the Howl on the Dominator just yet, but why? This is a rough playing phase. We'll give him a pass on this one.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of, you know, a rough goal, but now he's had a little bit of time to play around. The Helmet of Overlord is coming out now, so they're going to have probably, you know, some of the agents to be able to play with. I don't think Poker all too worried about the Aegis. They probably would have liked to have spent these next couple of minutes taking some tier 1 towers, probably that tier 1 tower top, so they can shut down this triangle, but they're kind of okay with farming, right? Like, because Killer's got a Midas, like Pudge still hasn't hit the Aghanim Scepter just yet. He's about, you know, 1,400 gold away from that. Dragonite's getting close to his Manta style, so I'm more than happy to kind of sit back for a little bit. This Aegis is more so, it allows Slowly Rock and Roll to kind of play like they are now, right? Like, if they get a few kills on some of these farming cores, and are going to start to feel the sweat a little bit, especially if, you know, somebody big like Killer goes down. It could be a lot of gold throws from the hands of Lonely Rock and Roll.
Speaking of Killer, they had a gank attempt lined up for him. 3 heroes of simultaneous direction. They had a Hawk that was outlining his position. Unfortunately, he has one of the silliest neutral items in the game of Dota, sitting with Tumblr's Toy. Please get this out of my game. Like, these free... Dude, I actually can't stand these free movement neutral items. What is this? How many times have we seen us be value this game? Like, cut them out of trouble, how do we kill a puck? No, please, this is too good.
Very true. Are you a fan of neutral items in general, or do you just want them all gone?
I'm ambivalent to a lot of the neutral items. Some of them are just like way too busted. It's like, how is this allowed in the Greek Dota? Like, he has Blink Tumblr's Toy, and this is ridiculous. This shouldn't be allowed. Things like Philosopher's Stone probably shouldn't be allowed either. A lot of them are fine. I'm like, okay, I can see the value in this being in the game, but some of them just way too good. Like, oh, Philosopher's Stone, great, thanks for demonstrating. Okay, wonderful.
Just
they have a Disruptor on their team. Oh my god, Disruptor with Philosopher's Stone. Do you know how many games I've lost playing up against this? Like, our team has some CM, he has 0 net worth. They have a Disruptor who gets like Ags at 25 minutes, and you're just like, oh god, this game is so difficult.
Yes. Sometimes there are a lot of neutral items where you just go, yeah, this is the source. This is exactly what I wanted. And it was pretty good. Right now they are winning out in the network as well, so these neutral items might not be any too much of a factor very soon, especially with Killer now having his own Blink Dagger, he's got more stuff available too, so that think stun initiation is very, very easy to hit Dooms now that he has this, the wall jump. So blink in, catch the SF, do him before he hits the PKP off. It's going to be scary. If he catches the puck, same deal. There's going to be no way for them to recoil out. And with the Aghanim Scepter being picked up, this is a massive timing here for Poke, right? Like they've got Blink BKB on their Doom, they've got Blink Yasha on their Dragon Knight, so he does a lot of damage in these team fights, and now Aghanim Scepter being built up for Lonfer as well. The only issue is they are playing into an Aegis, so they need to make sure that they use everything on their Shadow for the first lap, because he can come back, especially now that he's very, very close to the Blink.
The kill of the Crystal Maiden, she got big from a quick deny. Definitely not gonna happen. Now, they thought of fight onto the plant. Hamel roll with some hectic damage from the defense. There's gonna be the power as well to hold him in position. But the Savage Storm with the kinetic field so good. It enables Killer to jump in with the Swarm directly onto the. And now it's just lap number 1. Gets doomed up on number 2, so there's no room for you to follow up with. They've lost out the part, they've lost the support Crystal Maiden, but they are getting the big prize here. Real, unfortunately, doesn't do enough damage to solo those back these people. But does put up the best of the lap. The disruptor and Swachi, he reserved the hook shot. Comes back in onto A.K.A. and they managed to kill him off. Alright, they start off in 2 separate parts of the map. They managed to come away with some huge kills on the side here of the only Rockin'. What a buyback from the Clockwork. He dies early in the fight, but Machi comes back. He knows he still has the hook shot in reserve, so he can use that to set up for the kill on PK.
It's under attack.
Big number 2 to clean up small KK there. Or maybe he might have been able to slink away, but it's kind of what I talked about, right? Like you can fight in towards the Aegis, but you still have to use, like you have to utilize your big spells to be able to deal with him. And they utilized the Static Storm that time around, and then they had to utilize the Doom to be able to finish him off, and that just meant that Real had a free time. Didn't get caught in the Static Field, didn't get caught with the Doom, doesn't have to worry about the Frostbite, doesn't have to worry about being bitten either from the Dismember. So they were just able to give Real a really, really good team fight where this puck is untouchable. And this is where it starts to get scary when you're on the side of Poke, right? Like, you have these ways of dealing with the puck, but I've seen so many different times where people are like, oh, I can deal with the puck. And then he just outplays many of these different heroes, right? Like the Doom, he has to blink Hoof Stomp, and now that he's getting close to a Lincoln Sphere, he's going to have some other way of popping the Lincolns. And Aaron's going to be very, very hard for him to catch a Static Storm Kinetic Field combo into the puck. And same thing with like the Pudge as well as the Crystal Maiden. They have these point target abilities that are very, very telegraphed, and I'm sure that Real has been very, very well versed in a lot of these animations, and it's going to be way too hard for them to catch. Maybe if they link up with like small KK coming in, getting a Blink Dragon Tail, they Static Storm on top of them, then they blow him up. It'll be a good way to kill the puck, but it's hard once again. You know, trying to find multi-cores, you need to try and figure out which one of these spells is going to be utilized for which one of these cores, and the kind of sequencing that you want in these team fights to take them down. Take down the Shadow Fiend too early, puck can still run rampant, and kind of vice versa for the Shadow Fiend, right? So, hard to ask.
They just hit a nice little levels peak as well. After that fight, went to level 15 for Real, so a lot more magic damage coming out there as well. Let's see how Poke Gaming want to approach the next few minutes. For now, come across this Clockwork, hook him back. However, this might not be the hook you're looking for. They realize there's some hooks as well. They're like, yeah, Lonfer, get the hell out, man. Being slowed up right now. Real might want the smoke. He gets jumped up though. There's gonna be the Doom. The Lincoln Sphere out. What an initiation from Killer. Lonfer will be credited with the kill, but that was all the Doombringer that will keep the chase going. They're gonna have hook stomp available again in 3 seconds. They initiate with the Blink Dragon Tail stun onto the Clockwork, and Nachi gonna find them getting brought down here. They try to zone them back with Requiem, hope it would offer salvation, but they can a little bit too far away. So a double kill for Lonfer. Okay, that is talking about how difficult it's going to be for them to dodge the initiation, and Killer demonstrates just how good the Blink Hook Stop can be, especially pre-Lincoln Sphere for the puck.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? It's pre-Lincoln Sphere. You know, once the Lincoln Sphere is up for Real, then that initiation is not going to happen. They're going to have to try and combine their spells to be able to get those kills. So maybe, you know, if Killer and Small KK are on the same page, then you can see that fight going away. But it was just a little bit of over-aggression coming in from Lonely Rock and Roll. Like, they wanted to keep the pressure going. They saw that Longfur was kind of getting a little bit caught out of position, but didn't know where the rest of Poke were, and they just stood up on the high ground and Killer found his opportunity, and he jumped on top of it. And that's exactly what you want from your offlaner, to be able to jump on these opportunities to come in and catch any of these balls that are going to get caught out. And now that he's getting close towards his off-screen caller as well, he's going to be a very, very hard hero to deal with, because Doom loves getting a lot of net worth, right? Like, he has a lot of good items, and once he gets his off-screen core, he's going to be tanky, he's going to relatively low cooldown on the Doom. And then he may even just, set his attention on some of the supports, maybe even set some attention onto YYY, right? Where he just goes in the background. You don't roar anybody, because Lonfur has had a lot of issues with this Beastmaster in this game, and if you take out the roar, then maybe it just allows Lonfur to walk around these fights a little bit easier, a little bit freer, that he can start to do damage on the top. Because from the start he's had a bit of a rough mid-game, right? Like, he really hasn't been able to take over the game. It's been off the back of Killer and Small KK.
Let me get it easier for him now, though. He is picking up the Shiva's Guard. That's going to supply him with the much needed armor up against Big Can. I must say, Big Can has a difficult time this game, having to choose what itemization to go for. Especially for this Dateless build, over and above having Silver Edge. But it's rough. Like, Break feels very good for the game, but you also just need that out big punch of damage. You might see them supply the punch throughout the mid lane here. They go into the hook shot onto this punch. Beautiful Requiem. Can't just trying to be fucking get off the Doom. Oh no! Big Can with the big plays, but now here comes the jump. They get on top of the Beastmaster, but BKB immediately bumped in by the Shadow Beast, trying to make sure that they can kill the CM during the freezing field, and they will be able to do so. G-Square on the one only, but the punch won't be able to last through the either. Will be a buyback. Columbus will made a run for down with the frostbite and more rising damage from Small KK, able to bring down the Shadow Beam. They also managed to take out the Clockwork as well. As this buyback seeming to come in clutch from the side of Poke Gaming, only Real is left, and the Real will be caught out. Small KK realizes he does not have the tools to long-term lock down this puck. So it ends up being a 4-for-4 in the mid lane, but Poke Gaming requires buyback to find parity on that one.
Yeah, 4KK is still trying to push this mid lane, and Real's trying to do his best to come out on this. Let's have the Lincoln Sphere here, so it's going to be very, very hard for Ram to get this frostbite going. He falls back in frostbite as well, so he has to be very, very careful. Killer's here. They can indeed. Small KK gonna come back to help clean this one up as well. Killer gets the kill. A little bit over aggressive from the puck. That's actually very funny, because the second time he dies in pretty much the same area, pretty much the same combination of spells. Obviously they had to wait for the Doom to get back, but Killer will take it. That turns into a sort of elongated team fight that results in a team wipe. That's not what they needed on the side of Lonely Rock and Roll. Oh man, that fight, it could have been so good. But Puck getting caught out now. Look how much damage was also done to the tier 2 tower. Yeah, and that's kind of the power of having Small KK have such a good game, right? Like, he has, I would kind of say, been playing, unfaultable this time around. He's been playing really, really well in the Dragonite. Usually we see Small KK, he's been playing things like the Storm and the Left Track, and that's where he's really able to take over games. But the Dragonite has been a performance to watch.
Yeah. Getting the splash from the heroes. Oh no. The power box. Who's trapped where? Bocce ends up duping both of himself as well as the Enchantress of Wen Hao. Well, that's what they needed. Killer happy to just jump in there. You see the splash damage coming in from the TK. Way too much damage in too short of a time. Because of these deaths, both of them without buyback, Of Gaming have a date with the big man as they head into the Roshan pit. Get the Aegis free shot as well. He's just got like so many items on DK. Giving him the shot too feels very, very good for a game like this.
Yeah, gonna that dragon on Fireball is gonna be insane, but Aaron, he's not caught out.
Wow. They can't actually able to bring him down, but it might cross his own line. He's not able to get off the BKB just yet, and he doesn't get a rope in time. He's been hit up with the hoof stomp. He finally gets off the BKB, but it's too late for him to survive this time. As Small KK just jumps onto him. Small KK gets the 2-pound from Killer as well. He somehow survives the 2 being alive. Nature's attention and keeping Small KK up. He's turning from the right place onto Big Can. Big Can actually gets the kill. And on the other side, although they end up losing the Beastmaster, they are happy to keep extending this fight. Killer goes in, finally able to bring down Big Can at the very end of this. But the SF survived for so long. Real ending up with a kill onto Ranfudao as well. So they've lost 3. They started off the Aegis attempt. They're not able to find them at the very end. Small KK and the boys looking at this Roshan. He's so low on their HP, but they don't have the SS, so they don't actually have the great damage to bring them down. Let's see, can they stop this, or will they be rewarded with the Aegis? Looks like they're going to get it. Real getting the full Aegis. Who do they give the shot to? They give it to the enchantments potentially, or they're keeping it for the SF for later.
Probably keeping it for the SF, I think.
Yeah,
Little
I did not expect that.
Cool. Yeah, that whole fight was something. That was something to watch. I really felt like that small KK was just going to literally just come in and clean house. He did a lot of work to be able to bring down Big Ken, but light steal and Nature's Attendance was all that he needed. That was purely just the last coming in from Last Commanders, and as soon as small KK ran into the dragon form, I believe he also got a miss uphill as well as the Shadow King was on the stairs to the last right click to kill him. So no. There was a few moments where it looked like Slaw KK, if he was able to get that kill earlier, he still would have lived. He was able to turn it back around. We can see here in the replay that Ken just walks in, he's able to just lead Aaron. They put all their attention onto Big Ken in the background. Killer didn't have the Doom at the ready though. And you get to see how low he gets, right? Like 300 HP, 70 HP, 50 HP, 30 HP, 10 HP. And then just walks around and is able to lifesteal through it. And the fact that small KK didn't get to the high ground in the Elder Dragon form meant that he had to walk slowly towards the Shadow Fiend, who was just perfectly fighting him back and forth. I feel like I played League of Legends with that one. So space walking back and A-clicking the ground and doing it. So big props for him. Eventually it does go down. A little sad, but they wrangled back that mid game, which was, I think if they got the Aegis there at close, they could have just taken the rest of the map.
I'm gonna try and initiate a fight right now onto the Mochi. Maybe initial jump. They've got a surprising amount of damage out of this Enchantress. Both find themselves that exposed now. Small KK jumping in. They want to try and bring down this clockwork. And the clock falling low, not dead just yet. In the meantime, though, Killer was trying to make the jump on the other side of the fight. Will end up dying, but he does get the Doom Warp onto Big Ken. Can they keep this fight going? They've just found Lancer on the Disruptor as well. Lancer, he's so low on the HP. Doesn't have a BKB to get him out of trouble. So the slows are a little bit too much. And he will end up losing his life. 2 cores down yet again on the side of Poke. Big Ken is starting to come into his own major carry here. Between himself and Real, 5,000 damage being dealt out. Maybe actually closer to 6,000 actually. This is starting to look very scary.
Yeah, that was surprisingly bad for them. They forced out the BKB on Big Ken early on in the fight. Like he did not have a BKB, but the issue for me right now is Poke's prioritization is really starting to fall apart. They're not committing onto kills, they're not going together. Killer was making the attempt on the Big Ken understanding that he did damage. They both support stay storm. They don't kill either of them because they have split their attention. And then it just gets to a point where they've used all of their big spells and they haven't killed anyone. And if you haven't killed anyone with Static Storm and Doom, and you're using the Elder Dragon form, you're just going to lose this fight because Big Ken will be able to out-sustain you, especially the fact that Lucifer hasn't been a threat at all in this game. So yeah, Lonely Rock and Roll doing a really good job at just reacting to how these two fights are going, and I think an issue for Poke Gaming to try and work out here is they need to understand where they want to go, how they want to go about it, and do it quickly and concisely, because if they're not doing that, then they're having to deal with a path who's blinking around and all this weird wacky stuff. And now that the Poke is starting to fall behind the 8-ball, it's going to get harder and harder for them to find these kills when they get more of their defensive items to level rock and roll.
First, we are now also at the level 20 talent out of the puck, so even faster access with Waiting Rift with more damage output. And SF, of course, with the shot as well as the 20 talent, a ridiculous amount of damage on this man. With BKB, Lincoln Sphere, now suddenly you're no longer afraid of the Doom, so that's the only thing that's been keeping Big Ken in check by any stretch of the imagination. And that would have been a smoke out. Let's see where this goes. Forward, actually, from Small KK. They still do manage to get the Doom out onto Big Ken. At the same time, the Aurora is out. Can they sit on top of this SF and kill him? The Inverted Blade is out. They finally managed to bring him down. Small KK, he's now going to be the king of this fight with him and Killer able to mop up both supports as well. The Primal Roar created a little bit of space, but certainly not enough. Real was not present for that fight. The team just gets completely 4 heroes gone from their side of the map. Small KK playing a daring game with that blink, understanding the positioning of where Lonely Rock and Roll should exploit the timing and is able to get a very massive start to the fight, ensuring that they can get the Doom out onto Big Hand.
Yeah, that was beautiful, right? I just criticized the target prioritization and their lack of communication with each other. Small KK and Killer just went in. They instantly the Dragon Tail to stop the Lincoln Sphere, and the Doom came out from Killer, and then just perfectly, took the rest of the team fight. They separated the Clockwork and the Enchantress of Fur, which is dismembering the Clockwork of such a combination, and they just tore apart everybody else. Real. He's in trouble.
He's fine.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
He's chilled. That's something that you were mentioning earlier, that you wanted to see them once they get the Lincoln Spheres. That's the only real way to get past this defense. And Small KK demonstrates to us exactly how it's supposed to be done. And we're also getting to the problem now where if they can kill the SF at the beginning of the fight, as much as if they lose every fight where SF gets to stand there outplaying damage, it's something we've discussed pretty much from the onset of the drop, that he is the only damage as the game scales later and later. But at this stage of the game, if you lose Big Hand, the fight's just over. Like, you have to get out of there. Real cannot solo carry these engagements. It's going to get more difficult now because we do have a full Bloodthorn on the Dragon Knight. There's still BKB Shivas into Aghanim Scepter coming for Killer. And of course, we do have a BKB full on Fur. So they really are overly reliant on the impact of this Big Hand SF. You have to protect them somehow outside of Lonely Rock and Roll, but it's kind of hard to do. You only have one fourth stock available. Maybe Clockwork should build another one. Bocce does have it in the inventory. They need to do everything in their power to just zone the rest of Poke back. And now Lanfa can just stand pretty. Posture very far forward, 3.4k HP. He knows that they can't burst it anymore, so starting to feel a lot better about this game.
Yeah, that's something I was going to check in as well. 4-star check the side one in Rock and Roll. As you said, they've only got one 4-star available to them, so it's hard for them to fight out the side of product and try and get themselves into a position where they can regress. The Puck does scale really well. Like once you get like late game Puck, he's a very, very scary hero. But until these BKBs start getting lower, until it starts getting to a point where they can deal with the initial burst, I think if Real has at least one or two members left alive, maybe it's like the Big Smart that's still left alive, he can really carry a lot of these team fights because it's going to be hard for them to kill him. At the end of the day, as you said, like the physical damage coming from Big Hand is going to be a big reason why they win a lot of these team fights and get through these BKBs. But Poke getting out before we can get to a point where the Shadow Fiend's hard to deal with, before the Puck has things like overwhelming blink plus green core plus like a full Revenant's Bros, and that's when it's really going to start getting too scary.
Right now, Aaron just making the towards having Aghanim Scepter, 800 gold away from picking up that item. As if Big Hand's life is not difficult enough as it is, but it is now 37 minutes into the game, getting some tier 4 neutral, some pretty decent ones being picked up for both teams. A Spell Prism for Dire Side, so I can imagine that going towards this Crystal Maiden, giving it to her, but on Radiant side, Timeless Relic for Puck, man. We were talking about neutral items and how some of them are really, really good. Dude, this is nuts. You already have the quickest quickening chance of Timeless Relic. Everything is just coming up too good for you.
Yeah, feels good, especially now with the full Octarine core being completed. So it's going to be a menace in these team fights. It already has been a menace this entire game as well. So a lot of these tier 4 neutral items are coming through and starting to alleviate a bit of the pressure, and even starting to put the pressure back on. I mean, to see if Small KK has done this in previous Dragonets, but the Octarine core and the Spell Prism. So he has a very small cooldown on his Elder Dragon form. I'm not sure if he has almost 100% up. He's very, very close to it to be able to have it. So it's about 50% uptime with the Octarine core and the Spell Prism. So I thought maybe he might go for something along the lines of like an AC, and they just kind of around where Small KK is literally just all their physical damage, and he just carries the game from there. But looks like he wanted to try and get a little bit more of the Octarine core action. And I don't hate it. I see the idea behind it, but maybe the goal was better.
We have just 6 seconds on time. We see a jump in. Oh no, Killer. He's inside the pick grinder here. He got Prime to roll up. Eating the reflex from the SF. That's going to be an immediate kill. Buyback comes in as well. Coming as far forward as humanly possible to try and break down this Beast Monster. Big Cat can't get the Requiem as Killer jumps directly on top of him. But they also jump directly on top of the Puck. Requiem comes in to try and save Real, but it's not going to come out in time as Poke surrounds around him with 3 heroes. See the influence of A.K.A. yet again. We got the blood roll out earlier on. It's going to be a jump forward looking for this enchantress. The ENG, she is suffering a lot of damage. Killer now has found Big Can. Big Can is a big prize, and he should end up losing his life here. Triple kill for Small K. Somebody stop this. DK, he's still jumping forward right now, looking for more. G gets inside these power spells, but who's who right now? That's Chu to make the wise decision and flip away from this enchantress, waiting for reinforcements, and but he gets pushed back. He goes in with the hook shot onto 2 heroes, interrupting him with a battery assault, but will die without buyback. At the same time, look for the fight in the wheel as well, but Tunda is down. Big Can walks back, hoping to try and hop out as he sees his enchantress down in front of his face, and now he's going to be joining her inside the grave as well. Then will come up onto the DK, onto the Doom Rob, and try to provide some space and time, but that space and time will be denied to them. And Small KK still a little bit too strong in the engagement. He ends up turning it around. GG well played the score. Some 10,000 damage being dealt on by the DK in that last fight. It ends up going well for the side of Poke Gaming as they take game number 1.
Yes, KK, that's a big.
Cloud, if he's got these hawks coming through, you know, if there's no... we'll come back to this as they get the dive on, and everything I was saying is now inconsequential because Cloud has gone down, so Kami has to move away from these multiple kisses. There is still that buyback for the Beastmaster though. Let's see. He wants to get himself back into this, the dive onto the back lines, into the vortex as well. There's going to be a real nice dismember. The hooks come. Nice save. Well, though, he saves it. Cloud gets himself back into this now, and Kami, he's losing so much time. Kami's going to go down. They do get the kill onto Leppington there as well. So Mira with that freezing field, Mira will go down. Coming down to the hooks. Yatsuro still in that push roll. He's getting them back. They get the buyback out from the potion. Stones for it. Everybody from the side of Hydra. They don't want to be giving this one up now as well, but they take down Leppington once again. That's the dieback on the Disruptor, and Yatsuro, what can he do? The hook, it's going to be blocked mid hook. He's in the dieback on the Cloud. Cloud, can he get himself away from this one? He's still being harassed by Collapse. One more right click, he goes down. That is going to be the Beastmaster dead for 115 seconds, and now the chase is on for the rest of the side of Hydra.
This Aghanims on the Morphling is just making him impossible to deal with. First of all, they use the little shredder on the Pudge to get rid of his armor. He has solid amounts of it, but it is just not enough. And then Yatsuro just destroys it, and he knows that he can stand his ground because he cannot be stunned. He literally cannot be stunned. How do you stun water? Well, a lot of their damage, if not most of it, is on the Morphling.
Oh, the glimpse comes back though inside the Static Storm Mirror. He has that Lotus going, and now if Sulfur actually dives a little bit further with the Mortal Thunder comes out from King, he's dove in. Yeah, they're gonna be able to get a kill onto the Storms for it. Can they take down the Pudge? They're gonna be able to catch him, cancel off the TP. He's gonna be dead. The Storm's through though. He has brought back, and they've got no kinetic field, no Static Storm. And like you say, they're even gonna be able to get a lockdown onto Cloud. Everybody inside of Hydra, they just overextended, and we praised them in the first game for respecting the power of team spirit here. But Hydra might have just lost the heads a little bit, and the buybacks, they're going to be forced out, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to defend this base with the Pudge being down, with no Static Storm for the next 27 seconds. Spirit, what can they get from this? I've been worried though, they're going to be able to get it. They get two, they do! They take them down, the cookie comes out, the Yatsuro, freezing field, they might lose Happy. Is this the dieback? They do the break the Lincoln Sphere though. Morphlin. Law wants to come right back into this fight because he have the boots of travel to do it. It might take him a little bit longer now. No boots of travel though, so he's going to have to use the blinks. You know, they just do it by foot, it seems.
Level 25 Storm with a beast. That's just so much damage. They're going in for the Morphling. He doesn't have a buyback.
No, he gets do they get the kill? He goes down. Warwick has to go down though. It's going to be him left alive. No, it's not. The creeps are pushing in. There's no buybacks available on the side of Hydra, and this is going to be 4 heroes, even with the death of the Morphling. No way Warwick defends this.
It's pretty much control where they don't have the glyph. The game is over. They gave it their best. Hydra, they made Team Spirit work for it. The team that is most likely going to be at the top of Eastern Europe DPC Division 1.
Radiant's middle barracks are under attack. Radiant's middle barracks has fallen.
Galaxy want to commit. There's just not enough damage. Crimson Guard, Atrophy Aura, Rubik's Fate Bolt, all this damage reduction. Let's see the combo. Bit of Malice.
Strong in by the Disruptor, and now the BKB from win. It's back up once more. Bit of Malice, and Sumail is in it. They'll lose him in mind control. Right it back towards tomorrow. Trying to run from everybody on the side again. Go ahead.
Radiant's middle barracks are under
Siphoning
attack.
and getting back into the base.
Has fallen.
Alive.
Yeah, I think when it's time to call it, it is time to call it. They have no business left in this.
And didn't get the tether off or something.
I think it got broken. Either way, I like the ghost up to purchase. That was pretty heads up, but we are back and there's a smoke action.
There's a
23
divine
looking
right
to end.
here. They're going in on Q. David, where's the hit? Okay, get that hit off. 123. It's knocked great damage and he's dead. Oh my god. Nothing. Less than 10% of his health.
I mean, I'm assuming that's just the game.
That, yeah, 100%. There's no point in talking about the
AU picks it up. I got it, bro. It's the dive.
Go away, you.
Oh my god.
Victory.
We finally get to see them have a little bit of lead, but they need to have good vision, good entry to engage.
We're down up on high ground. Bulbica, Red Panda, this would be huge if we can find it. Static Storm before the Tombstone. Not bad. Stone from Lulu. He's thrown now. There. Starting to drop down. I love TK control for the moment. He does manage to get that one away. And the Supernova down. Team barely surviving. And it's going to be one down as White Album. It's a dodge. It's a hideaway. The heal's coming in. They hoping for a save, but the PKB is out, and they're going to jump onto him. He has to back away. We have lost White Album again, and now Tango in trouble. Q is going to drop. Aster, these fight so well, and they couldn't take down that Undying before the Tombstone.
And remember, it's ages, so they didn't really care about giving away. That's the ball. Big percentage profits.
Stun is out on the play. Didn't have a BKB available. Bulbica dropping low, the 10 toss back in. They have another kill off Bulbica. Doesn't look like it because the black hole is there. That's on the agent. He doesn't have multi to help back the And Aster, they might take full advantage. Move.
Radiant's bottom
Rax
has fallen.
up the bottom. Finally, Aster full advantage. They're building.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Oh, just for a brief second. Well, there it is, back again with the high network. When you click on the L, it's not really an inspiring network. Blink, BKB, Radiant. You might be able to get on top of a hero, but that's not the shot that's able to 100-0 here. Like even this Undying inside Static Storm, able to then get up with Slash God and from away.
Back, they have that to try and keep him alive. Makes the move, and again, into this fight without Monet here. Pretty good for them. Right album, but now Monet is out. Now they're in a lot of trouble. The team should kill him. Okay. All right. Pops ulti. Now the turn. Punching. Really getting away. Sort of survived that first album. Very strong. Supernova down. Pops the PKB. Ooh, he's just caught here. They want to get the kill. That's really himself up. And now the chase. With the avalanche, the toss. Thinks he's going to give up his life also. This is buckled in. Monet is way too strong. This might just be the full set of racks going down bottom. Aster, way too strong for Ares.
Like Aaron's the
JP. Oh, they're done. Okay. I was wondering. It looked like it was that type of game.
Yeah, it kind of was. It's like a game where you're an out, not really ever been in the league, he hasn't really never protected himself.
5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban.
Welcome, one and all. We have returned here for some more Division 2 Dota in the Chinese region. Team 2 of Poke Gaming taking on Lonely Rock and Roll is going to be taking place right now after a Game 1 victory for Poke Gaming with a very impressive small KK performance on this Dragon Knight. Going into Game 2, Fluke, what adjustments do you want to see being made between these two squads here? We see that the odds have shifted slightly. After the first game, it's now a little bit more even. You know, the faith is still somewhat restored, despite the loss for Lonely Rock and Roll. What changes do you want to see being made in the drops, give them a better chance at victory for Game 2?
I think maybe you might have to start putting a little bit of emphasis on this Doom, right? Killer had a very, very good game. He was left in a 1v1. There was a few moments where he kind of overextended a little bit in that safe lane, but he kind of just had a game where he was able to take over. He got an early hand of mud built in towards a very, very early BKB as well. So maybe you might start put a little bit more emphasis. I'm not saying like you have to kind of band it out because we've already seen that Poke want to try and first phase it. So maybe you just try and have a 1-2 punch to be able to deal with the Doom and not have to worry about him. Some carries that might be along the lines that can deal with the Doom, you know, things like the Wraithing that we've seen in the past. All these heroes that are more than happy to just stand and right click, but you can just do this as well. You can just pick it up yourself and say, we're not going to ban it, we're going to pick it for ourselves and see if you guys know how to deal with it. Poke responds with the Monkey King, one of his harder lane counters as well.
This Monkey King here, when played in the correct conditions, can really make Doom's life impossible in the earlier portions of the game. For me, another thing that I find interesting is Poke continuing to look towards this disruptor. Even before this hero got really, really popular, Aaron's been playing this hero quite a lot and for quite a while. So the fact that he's sticking with it, he's like, nah guys, trust, this hero is actually really, really good, no matter what. So good to see it, that they stick to this. And Marana gets picked up right now for Lonely Rock and Roll. And it helped them with some team fighting as well. This does mean that they have much higher likelihood towards getting like still Clockwork as a support, potentially some Primal Beast. He kind of hero that can set up for this arrow start to come through. I think they probably realized as well after Game 1 that we need as many different sources of damage as humanly possible. We can't be uber reliant on our safe laner. So now we have some damage as well. But like you say, this Monkey King, feel like it'll be difficult to fight into at pretty much all stages of the game for them.
Yeah, it could be one of those lanes where if Lom first starts the way that he did in the previous, that's when it could start getting a little bit too hard for Lonely Rock and Roll. Monkey King is one of those heroes that, yeah, you can doom him and deal with him, but at the end of the day, he's still more than happy to just stand and man for a lot of people, right? Because you can go to these item builds that are a little bit more focused on just having a lot of your clones around. We've seen the Aghanim set decide to creep up a little bit from these Monkey King players. You can just like Ags, Basher, you know, Scardy, all those kind of items that are just like, yeah, if I get Doom, doesn't really matter, not all too much. But we'll see what kind of other lanes we're going to see out of Poke Gaming this time around. They went for Pudge CM as their last two, so I would like to see them pick small KK's hero in the final phase of the second phase and really try and give him another strong lane, because time and time again he's been able to stand up tall for Poke, and now they're banning out a lot of the spirit heroes as well, so it leads me to believe that they want to try and have something in mid lane for small KK on the lines of like a Leshrac that he can really carry on.
We'll see here, they taken out the Storm, no Ember Spirit as well. But all these mid heroes that Marana loves rotating into. Tiny's a good band too. We've seen this hero a bit topsy-turvy in Division 1. It started off every other game, there was a Tiny in the mid lane. As time went on, people were like, yeah, sort of souring on the hero, but still has so much value. Good to see them get rid of it. What other heroes should be removed that haven't been touched just yet? I haven't seen either team really address this Enchantress, but maybe they feel like on the side of Lonely Rock and Roll, we already have Doom. We saw a good killer Doom can be into the end. We already have the Marana. We've seen how Marana is a sort of pseudo answer in the early game, so they don't need to ban it themselves. And I doubt Poke Gaming want to go Disruptor plus Edge, right? Since they're picking out of the phase for Lonely Rock and Roll, what do you think about them getting the Clockwork here? I feel like getting Clock would be good for them, and it denies Poke Gaming the opportunity to play Disruptor Clock, which can be a very scary combo.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. I'd like to give a ban as well for that. For those heroes that Killer has been able to abuse in the offlane and be really, really strong on. So they go for the Hoodwink. It's not all too similar to the Clockwork because it doesn't provide you that strength body in the front line for one of your supports to kind of just go in and give vision and be a hero that just enables you to play around with. So they want to try and have a hero that can do a lot of damage for the support, right? Like you can deal with the King from range because you've always got the Bushwhack. If the Doom gets into a bad spot, you've got the Sharpshooter that can deal damage from range as well. And shouldn't really be a hero that's going to get caught by like Static Storm, Kinetic Field, right? Because we've seen in a lot of these different drafts, when you have a lot of these melee supports, it's a lot easier for the disruptor to just catch a core plus the support because the support needs to be in the front line for the core to deal the damage. And if you have these range supports, it means that they can play on the edges and on the fringes of the fights, and makes it a lot harder for Eren to get multi-man Static Storms unless they're getting funneled into weird positions. So I like that they've picked up this Hoodwink. It means that they can play on the edges and try and play around their strong lane with the Hoodwink.
So both of these squads going for range support goes, all right. Not all that often do you see it happening, especially with teams that have a Monkey King inside them. I'm kind of surprised that Poke Gaming didn't go for some kind of body. Another thing about this whole thing you're talking about is it also gives them damage. And they really traumatized after game one. They're just like, get damage, whatever you can do, boys. We need some kind of answer to this. So now DK, if small DK was thinking about playing that hero, a lot less relatable to play to Miranda Hoodwink. They get the Centaur instead. All right, so we've seen this as a response to Mirandas in the past. They come in with the team fight for the Moonlight Shadow. You either immediately re-engage with Stampede, or if you see them coming, you immediately disengage. I'm okay with this, I guess. It's also a decent thing, no matter who they lane it with, whether it be Rubik Centaur or Disruptor Centaur. This feels fairly strong and covers pretty much every matchup you can think of.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent for them. He doesn't have too many lanes that he loses and should be in a good spot most of the time. I think with this Rubik pick, it probably means that now we're going to be seeing Ramfu Dao pick up the Disruptor, and Eren's going to be able to pick up the Rubik. He has had a pretty good showing on his Rubiks in the past. Pretty decent lane with it, Centaur versus Rubik. Like, you're not going to be too scared because you know it's going to be like Potom +1 for Lonely Rock and Roll. So the main issue that you had would have been against something like a Monkey King. Maybe you're looking at like a Lifestealer now for Lonely Rock and Roll to try and have this hero that can deal with the Sentinel early on. You could have issues trying to stick on top of targets, and it's not really the carry matchup into the Monkey King. You can kind of just drop Wukongs, and then the Lifestealer has to run out as soon as his rage is starting to get low. So it's going to be hard for them to find a hero that deals with the Centaur as well as dealing with the Monkey King, and that's, I think, Poker put themselves in a really good spot here with both their support being cores, being able to be on two different ends of the spectrum.
Radiant team
Let's see here what's going to be the option for Lonely Rock and Roll. They get themselves a CK. All right, so they want to be able to match up in the laning phase versus Centaur. Later on, this is one of the few melee heroes. I think it's between like C and Ursa that can, and maybe Troll sometimes. But these are heroes that can zone the Monkey King outside of his own Wukong. So you can kill him within it. If he's low enough on HP, you also drag this hero back into position. And it also means that every single one of these heroes has a stun. Obviously, Doom is going to just get a stun later, but everybody has lockdown. Everybody has a source of like mass amounts of damage. It's a hero that buys BKB as well. And BKB just feels uber value in this game. All right, I think I'm okay with this. It also means that there's kill threat here, like on pretty much both sides of the map between Doom Hoodwink as well as the Mirana CK.
Yeah, very true. Also, another hero that is okay with dealing with buying BKB, so he doesn't really want to try and go for it, but can. And it also means that they don't really have the crazy amount of burst damage for them to get through this Chaos Knight, right? Like, he's going to be a tanky strength hero that's hard for them to deal with. The one thing they are lacking, though, is a little bit of teamfight control. They've got like Bushwhack, and it's basically a lot of their other stuns are kind of just single targets, so these BKBs are going to be very, very good for poke. So we're going to be looking to see them ban out some more of these AoE control heroes. Maybe even something along the lines of like Invoker could see a ban coming in from poke, just to give them that little bit of extra control to try and play a lot of these fights. And the one issue that we're seeing right now for poke is the fact that Rubik kind of doesn't really have anything amazing to steal. Like, Chaos Bolt is good, it's not crazy on the Rubik. Bushwhack is okay for the Rubik. Arrow's pretty good, and Doom's pretty good. So it's not like this is a game where we saw in Western Europe for these two hustlers when Yola stole a black hole and got a 3-man black hole, then a 4-man black hole to win the game. So it's not one of those kind of
10
games. So I'm really
seconds.
looking to see
Dire
what
team
Aaron
back.
can do with the spells that he can steal.
Radiant
Have to work
team
overtime
picked.
here to get the really good ones. We see some of these mid-heroes banned. Poke Gaming do indeed ban out the Invoker. They're like, nope, 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 nope. We see the potential. They see it too. They're on the same wavelength as you, Fluke. And Pango and Leshrac moved in the opposite direction. So for Poke Gaming, we need a hero that's going to be able to join the fights. Death Prophet's gone.
10 seconds
Lesher's
remaining.
gone. What other of these anchor-type engine heroes are
5
left in the
seconds
game?
remaining.
I've seen Visage occupy that role every now and then, but not always the biggest fan.
You need something to deal with the CK illusions, right? Like that's the
Dire
issue
team
you've got right now. That's why the final couple of bands coming in from one all the way down. Yeah, Shadowfiend can do it. Requiem is good at dealing with the Phantasm illusions, and it's hard for the CK to kind of get in and blow him up because he is a good BKB builder. Yeah, I think we're kind of at a point where they set up
10
small KK
seconds
to
remaining.
be their kind of half carry, and a lot of the bands come out from Lonely Rock and Roll, which is
5
way too good.
seconds remaining.
You're at a point where you're like, what do I really pick? And I think Shadowfiend is fine, but now Lonely Rock and Roll can go to something of their own. It's a good way of taking towers because CK is pretty bad at it.
Their push potential's kind of naff right now. I think you can, with the heroes left, you can only do one or the other, right? I'm not sure you'll be able to accomplish both. So the option is control or some building damage. Or the answer is gonna be some team
Good
fight.
lane.
All right, that's good lane against SF. You win this lane. They had some burst damage beforehand, like physically, but they wanted to make sure that they still have more. All of these heroes just have a ton of damage now. They don't have that many hard disables on Poke. Like if you're playing Queen here and you buy BKB, you're pretty much immortal in these fights. Okay. Do you like this though?
Yeah, I think it's kind of another one of those things where the bands for Poke were too good. The Puck and the Invoker gave them exactly what they needed with a little bit of team fight control. I think this time around, Real is going to have a lot on his shoulders to be able to make this mid-game work for you. You might have seen Queen of Pains come out of the laning phase, look okay, but not really be able to get that transition in towards that mid to late game Queen of Pain that we've seen a lot before. So maybe moving towards like an early BKB into like an Orchid build for him, try and catch out for a lot and kill some of these supports in the background. So I don't hate it, but after what I've seen from Poke, I think they've got heroes that they're comfortable with and heroes they look good with. And my issue for Lonely Rock and Roll is they just don't have the kind of team fight that we're seeing coming in from Poke with, Wukong's, Requiem, Stampede, Static Storm, Kinetic Field. So yeah, I think Lonely Rock and Roll may have some issues in the mid game.
Yeah, I feel like a very one target type of lineup. Kill this one person, move on to the next target. Kill that guy, move on to the next target. And there's a lot of missable spells. I think that's what worries me the most. You can miss Sonic Wave, you can miss this arrow, you can miss Hoodwink spells as well. So they have to play at a very high level. Execution has to be pitch perfect. And because you're also playing this more single target style, it does mean that Killer Sensor has even more value. You just press R, just press Stampede, and then suddenly much more difficult for them to take team fights. Controlling is going to be hard for Lonely Rock and Roll, but if they can do it, then they can take Poke Gaming to task and deny Poke Gaming getting their second win so far here in the DPT. Both teams are 1-1 in the leaderboard. So far, Poke Gaming is 1-0 in the series. So Lonely Rock and Roll show us what they've got, show us that they're worth moving around with as we go into game number 2. Gonna be fun as well to see how this pans out, because on the bright side, even as this game scales, both teams have many options for fighting. We're not just gonna run into this issue of I doom SF and then suddenly the entire fight is over.
Yeah, 100%. They've got a decent amount of damage coming in from the Monkey King as well. So I think for Poke, they put themselves in a good spot where the threat of the Doom, I don't want to say has been neutralized, but it's definitely been neutered a little bit. Like it's not like we saw in the previous game where you just go, oh, okay, SF Doom, how much damage do you really have? And a one-on-one fight.
Huge fight that happens here. Boundless strike catches on multiple heroes, both Hook and the CK end up getting brought down, and Aaron finding a double kill. You were mentioning that he is very good on this Rubik, going to be even better starting off the game with this huge injection of gold in his pocket.
He's almost got boots, pre-bounty route. So, I mean, I think Aaron's going to be more than happy with that. And I don't think you could ever walk up that background without any vision, right? Like, they put vision after they died. but they kind of just walked into a two-man who stomp, and then they just got kind of blown to pieces by triple rays. And maybe Loaded and Rock and Roll were trying to start on the right foot, but yeah, walking at Tiger with no vision and into a level 1 team like this, where you're going into a Shadow Fiend, it's a risk, man. And unfortunately for them, it kind of blew up in their face.
Uh-oh. Not only do they get the double kill to start with, they've got triple bounce runes. So this game already looking like a very successful affair for the side of Poke Gaming. Aaron put on a Sentry Ward on the top lane. They already have a defensive ward middle for small KK. This is not what you want to see if you're a fan right now of Lumia Rock and Roll. But Poke Gaming, they're showing up and they're showing why they still in the division last time around. Like, it wasn't an elimination situation. They earned their spots. They're just chilling. And the team showing that they still have ambitions of getting themselves to the top.
Exactly, they're doing a good job. I believe they're also one of the teams that avoided the messy tiebreakers towards the end, right?
Yeah.
It was that was like Meteor Cloud and all that kind of stuff. So they were well safe in the division, and now they're coming in and really trying to make a stamp here on 2-2. And like, they're just going back and forth. Watchy.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It'll be chill. Oh wait, no. Poke was in the tiebreak. They were in the tiebreak. Yeah, they went. It was them, Meteor, and Cloud, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Cloud. I think Cloud got that win towards the end, right, where we were like, oh my god, they did it.
Yep. Bottom lane. There might be a kill onto this young Hoodwink. Thunderstrike will be there. Anfa really wants this kill, but when how? So Magic Stick charges won't end up getting brought down. And why? We're putting out a little bit too much damage at the Scorcher. We want to keep the pursuit going. But they're showing us the kill threat that can happen from these two heroes. As time goes on, they need to be very, very careful. Right now, they were lucky that they didn't have to deal with additional level into the monster, but eventually that will end. And now they're coming in again with the attempt on the line of this Doombringer. We'll try to get back a very nice bushwhack coming from the Hoodwink. Zoning back on for Wawa almost dies as well. So lots of action happening in this bottom lane despite no kills occurring just yet.
Yep. Both side lanes have a lot of threats for, both the Radiant and the Dire, so I'd imagine this is going to be a whole lot of contention between both these two teams, and it looks like YYY goes down to Ramfu Diao, chase him down with the Glimpse. I think Glimpse does damage now.
Why does Glimpse get the free kill?
I don't know, man. I think it's just to stop people blinking away, but it does too much damage now. I think it's the issue. Frog was like, I need to upgrade Disruptor, and then he went, oh shit, we're gonna go back. It does too much damage now.
I very rarely even see Disruptors bothering with Thunderstrike in the laning phase. And they're outputting more damage than they used to. What the hell is this?
Yeah, it's a little broken, but rest easy, son. There is going to be a massive patch coming very, very soon.
I will believe it when I see it. I have trust issues now with Valve.
We just have to believe. We have to sit here. We have to suck the copium. We have to make sure that we're okay before. I don't know if it's gonna happen before or after the major. Obviously, with some other tournaments going on right now, it'd be a little rough for those teams competing. But hey, I'm not a competitor, so I don't mind.
Wenhao will definitely mind losing his life towards this Monkey King. As yet again, we see the influence of this Glimpse damage. They drag back this Hoodwink. The sphere can keep happening.
Enjoy this.
Lane combination is pretty powerful. We haven't seen the top side of the map be able to get any kills just yet, but that might change as they are going in, getting in some damage onto the Rubik. Watchy does have access to Secret Arrow, and Big Man just needs one more level so he can have Reality Rift as well. And maybe they do both, but so far, there's a tussling with the CK, and CK might actually die here. Killer's in a very bad spot. He might lose his might leap forward. We'll ensure that they have the damage, but at the same time, Big Can, he's tossed about by the telekinesis of Aaron. Spree towards the Rubik. 3-0, pre-5 minutes on position for Rubik. You get to see this every day.
No. Definitely don't, unless you're watching some of the OG Rubik gods of days gone by. But Aaron is starting. Thank you. Kind of interesting that Killer was still continuing to try and get these trades going up against the Chaos Knight. He does have access to the Chaos Strike, so it's hard for you to try and win these trades out. He does have Helm of the Iron Wolf, and he's just trying to abuse the health regen. So good start for them, and I think Aaron really needs to start setting his attention towards his mid lane. Like 4KK. He's just being decimated like we saw in the previous game that Real. Like, the way that Real is playing now in the Queen of Pain is exactly the start that you want, so lonely rock and roll.
Yeah. The bottom land for getting more of the stuff that he wants. They picked up a King in large measure to counter out the early Doom pick. And so far it's working for them. They're having some major success on bottom. As mentioned, Real is doing a enough job middle, doubling up the CS practically, and having the same amount of denies as they are CS for the SF and top lane. Big in danger, but Killer might be in further danger here. They really want to chase the CK down, but they're not going to take the risk of going in behind the tier 1 tower. But just trying to drag creep wave away, deny them the safety of using this as a shield to keep diving. And Killer, really want this kill onto Bocce, but Bocce has leap charges as well, so shouldn't really be in massive danger in the top lane. Because Real is now just zoning Smoke K by himself, just standing up on the high ground. And during a quick Dota, saying, now what? I'm about to hit level 6, top lane, they finally get the kill. No, he's still alive. Bocce gets saved because Killer got stunned up by Big. Down bottom though, I don't think that YYYY has the same luxury as he gets ran down by Lanfa. Quick outlet from the Monkey King. Man, this Deep Doom is not having a good time in this early game.
Yeah, it was kind of a very similar tale that we saw again in 1, right, where Lonfo was running for Vidal and just abusing the lane that they have. Disruptor and Monkey King are a very potent combination because you build up the Jingu stacks and then that's when you start to fall people back. Big King goes down off the back of Aaron finding another kill in that top lane. So it's all about kills now, it seems like, for Poke Gaming. Right now, he's 2.
Another kill, just kills everywhere. It's 9-1 right now. Runford has access to the glimpse in 10 seconds. And why? Despite having maybe enough damage to run down, the Disruptor has had a couple of negative experiences in the bottom lane. So we'll decide to just hang back. He's only level 3 right now. Monkey King is level 6. Are you kidding me?
I was just about to bring this up. I was like, you know, YYY's having, not the worst time. You know, he can be okay. He can fall back on stuff, but he is 2 whole levels behind YYYY, and he's about to go down again.
Getting to jump on right now, run to down. He don't want to glimpse just yet. He might just glimpse back the Queen of Pain, and indeed he does. But the Sonic Wave with the dagger will come out. Gonna be good enough to find the kill. And that actually benefiting the Quamp. Gets the kill, immediately comes back to harass Small KK in the mid lane. And Small KK might die from this. When how? Making access to the stuns, but they do not have access yet to the ultimate, so not enough damage to find the kill. Watch playing look around the roses with Aaron, and Aaron trying to go for the kill. Aaron needs us back. The leap will be out, and Aaron now realizing the folly of his ways. Gonna try to get denied by Roshan, but that's not gonna happen. When how? He will find the kill. And that's the dominating streak and the ton of gold in the pockets of this Hoodwink, but more importantly, more involvement for Real.
Oh no.
And Laffer, he is not done yet. Then as soon as they realize that, wait a second, there's no Morana, there's no Hoodwink, that means Chuma's all alone, and that means we can kill me again.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is a crazy start to the game that these two teams are really pushing their side lanes and their lanes to the absolute limit. And you can see now, the fact that Real had a good start to his early game, that they're really going to be able to play off the back of Queen of Pain. And this is exactly what happens when you see the sports make these rotations, and you can see that these teams are understanding what these kind of win conditions are like. Unfortunately for YYY right now, he has to go somewhere. And I think he's going to have to try and go to the jungle, because if he goes anywhere near Lonfur, even if he doesn't have the support around, Lonfur will kill him. And if you just keep feeding this Monkey King all this farm and all these kills, that he's going to have like a very early Echo Saber, and then he makes rotation towards the top side. You kick it if you can. You take that tier 1 tower as well, then you just make this map so small for lonely rock and roll to play around with. And you really need a decent sized map for Real to play in, because he's the one that needs to make this space on the map for you, so Big King can start getting started.
Still really bad for YYY. The whole team is just sacking him. Look at the support to play. Combined the Bushwhack arrow combination onto this Rubik. Sonic Wave misses everybody, but finds the 2-hero Boundless Strike into the 2-hero Hoof Stomp, and they get the cleanup. So no matter where you are on the map, you are just not safe from this Monkey King. Make the TP rotation, they initiate the Stampede. So despite them being able to get that kill, that was also a questionable Sonic Wave coming in from Real. He thought it was going to connect onto this Disruptor as well, but whiffs entirely after the Rubik death.
So he was able to connect on both of the supports, and luckily enough for him, he had the haste room, because I'd imagine if he didn't have the haste room, he's dead, right? Because he only has 1 level in the blink, and he had no mana. So if Ru gets caught out and then Lonfo is able to take him down as well, then you're really starting to question what Lonely Rock and Roll are going to have to fall back on, because Real is kind of their only hero that can link up with both their supports, right? Like, why I can't do it? Oh, big goal.
The salvation will be the tank, the bushwhack on the 2. They glimpse back the Queen of Pain, but here comes the KK as well. First Phantasm of the game gets committed. They really want to bring down small KK, and they succeed in doing so. Well, I also made the rotation over, hoping to at least hook up the Doom onto someone, but turns out his help is not necessary. They're like, sorry mate, no gold for you, go back to the jungle. It's your home now. So very good kill onto this SF, because this SF is being further and further to if Doom is having a rough game, at least Doom has like easier recovery tools. This SF is really having a rough time.
Yeah, considering the massive carry performance that we saw out of small KK in that previous game, right? Like, I thought that was going to be the point where they take down Real, small KK gets himself a kill, back around with a bit of farm, a few more minutes on the map, and can start to become a hero. But right now, he has to go for a catch-up Midas, man. Like, he has 176 gold on top of his treads and his bottle. Like, this is a very sad Shadow Fiend. Luckily enough for him, Sidelanders are doing really, really well. FSM is now on the way for Lon first, so he can make these rotations and start to become scary. Very, very close to a Blink Dagger as well on Killer. He's about 250 away from that. And these items are going to alleviate a bit of pressure for him, and especially he's going to link up with some of these players. But I don't think he's ever going to be safe. Like, he always has to deal with Doom, he always has to deal with Real, and if small KK can't find any semblance of farm in the next, for the next 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to be a hard game for the entirety of it, and then you just start to doom out one third, and where's the damage going to come from the poke?
There's a fight that's coming in right now from this side here. Big Sonic Wave coming in from Real, catches onto 3 heroes. They will drop down the Wukongs from Lanfur, and they quickly vacate the area where the Wukongs is. They sort of preempted this particular movement as they came in with the Moonlight Shadow on the south side, but now Poke Gaming, they're like, well, they don't have access to the Sonic Wave anymore. Let's aggress onto them as they smoke up. They want to reveal this Blink Dagger. Not gonna anybody just at Real, still in their sights. It is daytime, so they have a beat on him. They know where he's at. They're gonna jump him. They get the connection. Telekinesis to follow the sun. Do they have the damage to get the kill? You bet they do. Aaron finding the Scream of Pain. And they will be able to find a botchy arrow though, hoping to try and connect and kill the Centaur.
Radiant's
And where they look for. They find the Doom back in the jungle. Just want to make sure that he can't get involved in this mid lane. So it's gonna be a quick kill onto Real. Nice reveal on the Blink Dagger. And this is the power that can still be levied by Killer, despite the fact that this SF isn't having a bleak game. Killer can sort of bridge the gap in the meantime and be their primary aggressor while they try and make space for the SF.
Yeah, and that's you can just see that they understand that they've got this little item window that they can play around with, right? Like Pop's going into a switch player, so he's always going to be susceptible to the damage here. Doom goes down.
Yeah, they do the Disruptor. There's no big spells coming out, but Static Storm was about to return, but he's still Doom. Oh no. Queen of Pain, gotta watch yourself. Doom has been given away. How did that happen? Get denied, I believe. So they're gonna make sure that he doesn't end up dying. Big cat and that denied. They're bringing in reinforcements on bottom. Queen of Pain doesn't get glimpsed back just yet. It will come eventually. Disruptor, pushback on the 2. The DK as well going to be putting out damage that he needs, but it's not going to be enough just yet. As long as getting the turnaround, will it be enough to get the kill? Yes, it will. Huge Sonic Wave, but the stomp coming in from the CK, or from the Vento rather, on top of the CK, ensures that they get that kill regardless. And we're seeing the squishiness of the Queen of Pain really being a problem right now. Should be through Bushwhack. Not going to be applied just yet. They're going to go in for it after the Founder Strike. Return of YYYY down bottom. They really want to try and make sure that they can get something, but it glimpses back towards the tier 1 tower. Bachi, no angle for any kind of Starstorm just yet. Arrow still on cooldown for the next few seconds. And Lanfur is going to soon have vision onto this Hoodwink. Should be able to finish him off quite quickly. And off instead of going for the jugular here. They get the back onto YYY. There's going to be the hook stomp as well from the Centaur. Damage coming in. Centaur not able to finish up the Doom just yet, but the Glimpse will do the job. Hoodwink got taken by Aaron and Lanfur. In the meantime, Lanfur finds another Founder Strike on Bachi, and Bachi stunned up during the leap. There's no escape for you, my friend. Double edge turns into another kill. It's just a bloodbath in this game. 28 kills in the first 15 minutes. Damn.
Yeah, and that just comes off the back of Aaron having a really, really good game. So he's able to just kind of stay on the edges of these fights, constantly get spells out, kill us for a really good time as well. Same with Lonfer. They're doing all this with that small KK, by the way. That was a fight where you saw all 5 members coming in from Lonely Rock and Roll on the bottom side of the map. Small KK has just been in jungle. He's got his hand minus up now. He's starting to begin this recovery. He wants to build in towards the BKB so he can just keep these fights going. And Poke are able to just get a lot of these instant kills once again. Then, man, Lonely Rock and Roll, they're going to start to fall behind the 8 ball because Real now, with this Witchblade, he has to go back and farm a little bit. Same thing with Big Can. Like, they wanted to try and get their farm through a lot of these fights, and I just don't think they realized how strong the heroes coming in from Poke Gaming are, especially when they're not able to link up a lot of their spells, you know, things into like Bushwhack, into like a Sonic Wave, into, you know, a Sharpshooter that just kills one per.
Radiant's bottom tower
to do that just yet. Poke, they're in a really, really commanding spot. Look at Killer. He's just been a menace on the map, just getting the Blink Dagger. Finding when how it should be a kill onto the movement. In the meantime, Lonfer is on the far side of the fight, gets boomed up inside the hook one. Should end up dying here. Real though gets hooked up alongside the Doom. Stolen Doom into the Static Storm combination. Please support with some illegal play from Poke Gaming. Another double kill for Aaron. What a player, what a god. So they lose the Mighty King, but they get the tier 1 tower, they get the 2 core kills, and they get even more gold into the back pocket of Aaron. And once again, you know who's not involved? Small KK. He throws in the token damage, then he gets to leave the fight. Does a little bit, he's like, sweet, I'm out, just gonna farm elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The Aaron's 2 Dooms in a row have done more than what YYYs have throughout the entirety of the game. So, pretty. Aaron is playing really, really well this time around. And he's really starting to carry hard in this group. And I said that there wasn't too many crazy spells for him to steal. A lot of good stuff coming from the Queen of Pain. And if you keep stealing Doom and Bushwhack, then it doesn't matter if the rest of the skills are Garbo, because you're stealing the good ones. And it's exactly all you need to do here. And this game is not starting to spiral out of control when it comes to net worth, right? It's only a 1k net worth lead for Poke Gaming, but I think as confidence and the kind of game set itself is starting to spiral out of control, right? Like Wenhao is going for a maelstrom, so like he's looking to try and get a little bit of the going, and I think if he ever gets caught out by like a Thunderstrike, he just dies because he's always going to have vision on them. So they've got a little bit they need to pull back here, do Lonely Rock and Roll, but you definitely have the heroes to do it. You know, Quap is one of those heroes that can kind of pull around the fight, same with Chaos Knight, but big boys on. Oh, that's a illusion, guys.
Close. Also, bonus props to my boy Aaron for having Honlo as the sticker. Good job. Glad. One thing that really also concerns me about this game is look at the change in the fortunes of these heroes. It used to be that the SF was well below par in terms of his overall net worth. He's about to get the BKB now, so he's going to be fully caught up. We're still further away. Queen of Pain is going to get BKB after the Shadow Fiend, despite the fact he had to come back for a catch-up Midas. And I believe his catch-up Midas was the slowest one this patch that we've seen. But it might have been slower overall, like, relative to prior patches, but certainly in this patch, we have not had one that took longer to accrue. So really insane that he still finds this much success in the game overall.
Yeah, and then Poker just had a good game and a good time in just understanding how they wanted to play this game. One get hit by the arrow combination, so not being able to commit on the Monkey King is Lonely Rock and Roll. They've got a lot of heroes here in the area, so they do want to try and have a fight. They've hit a nice little 2-item spike here for the Chaos Knight. He's going to be pretty scary to deal with, but again, just having Doom at the ready for Aaron means that he can just try and find it what he wants.
Yeah. All right, Doom gets expended right now. Just a stolen one though, and unfortunately, it's expended on an illusion just at the very end of the duration of the steal. Down bottom, oh, Big Can gets caught just as he was about TP away. No. Worst case scenario. And Aaron, of course, steals an ultimate, so he's gonna get himself the Phantasm. So scary.
Yeah, that's probably not the best for him to pull out, but hey, you know, stealing ultimates is a stat, and it feels pretty good for Aaron right now. He did a good spot. So, I mean, Lonely Rock and Roll, I thought they were going to try and put pressure on this tier 2 tower bottom, they were trying to get everybody coming together because I'm still not sure if small KK might win with a BKB. But they're just so far across the map, and this is what I talked about where the network is starting to tear people apart, but it's more so like the feeling of the game, right? Like if you're Lonely Rock and Roll right now, you're like, you just feel behind, and it's only 3,000 network, but you feel much and the morale is really starting to rub low.
Yep. Because they are going for the BKBs next, the build that they're going for on Lanfer with this Desolator in combination with this Shadow Fiend scaling in levels means that they still have many damage answers even through the BKBs. When we saw in the last game the influence that all this damage can do when they are BKBs, you're glowing yellow and you're still just getting right-clicked down by NSF. There is still time. Right now, because of how well the early game went in the mid lane, them putting towers on Poke is very difficult to do outside of this SF helping to harm the charge, so still have a fair amount of real estate to play the map with. With heroes like Doom, you can still catch up network-wise, but unfortunately they have 2 fighting heroes, so at some point this has to end. They have to get their BKBs, try and make something happen on the map. They're not trying to go into the late game with Queen of Pain and CK by just farming. So now they're going to go into the Moonlight Shadow. I don't know if they realistically think they're going to find a target because they're all going in different directions. Maybe they just want some map presence back at this point.
Yeah, they're kind of a little directionless right now, right? Like they pop a real on the Shadow. I'm pretty sure Big Ken was seen on the bottom wave as well, so I don't think it really would have done much for them. But the way it is now, they just haven't done much. They are starting to farm, and the network is relatively even contributed throughout the entirety of the game, but all it takes is Poke to do what they're doing right now. They go, okay, time for us to fight. Let's go. We've got BKB up here on Lonfer. We've got BKB up on 4KK. And all we have to do is catch one of these cores, and we will start to pull this game ahead.
Fortunately, Lonely Rock and Roll have the same feeling as all their cores will just back up. Only Queen of Pain is showing on the way, but she can get herself out of trouble fairly easily. She does have access right now almost to the BKB. They won't find anything just yet. They just get a quick D-ward. And, you know, it's funny to me that we're talking about like the relative lack of scaling potential if they don't fight soon. And they have the Maelstrom now, so they have at least one other hero that can help them scale. Unfortunately, they have to decide if they're going to fight or not. So the Roshan attempt is happening. Radiant scan. I'm not going to connect onto any of these heroes. Big Can is not getting involved. I'm still just finishing off his DKC, so it looks like they're going to let this one go and give it over to maybe not. Why is coming here? That's gonna find beautiful footwork happening here. Sonic Wave catching under so many heroes. Another Stonebless Dude. They do manage to snatch the aim just because the kill goes the way of Lonely Rock. But the case is on. They want this Queen of Pain. There's going to be Wukong come on, trigger it onto the high ground. Big Candle. After popping Phantasm some right clicks, they force them away from the fight. They're not gonna just pursuit up. At the same time, on the far side of the fight, Killer catches out the Mirana, able to bring her down as well. And the Doom, yet again, given away to the Rubik just before he dies. I mean, all things considered, they do get the Roshan kill. Yeah, he just goes the opposite direction, but all things considered, given where the game state was, given that they took that fight without having a BKB on CK, it didn't go as badly as it could have.
Yeah, I think if they'd lost Big Can or Real, you're really trying to beat Doom and Gloom. But yeah, I mean, network-wise, it hasn't been that crazy of a swing. So, I mean, whether we're looking at this game, it's relatively even. Stevens and Poke, they're the ones that are starting to get a few more of these key items on their heroes, though, and I think that's going to be the interesting tale for me. Is a lot of their gold is on their supports for Lonely Rock and Roll. You can see that Wan Hao is much more farmed than what Ramsey Zhao is, so that's why you can see that there's 2,000 disparity between the two supports, and all the cores are relatively similar when it comes to network. But keep seeing these dudes being stolen, and if they get transferred off Real, then tinker it back on YY. DT are actually going to get a lot more spookier, but in Lonely Rock and Roll, they're at least making this game even without it completely losing out of control.
They still somehow maintain a slight network lead at the moment. Just trying to spread themselves out on the map. I know they can't back right now. They don't have access to this dude when they're all playing
Dire's
into
top
just
tower has fallen.
killer and small kick. And there's building up the tier 1 or tier 2 tower on the top side of the map. They're
Radiant's
keeping
middle
pressure
tower
up.
is under attack.
They're gonna just try to force the back and near rock and roll. They're coming into the center maneuver. They've got one pound inside the base. There's the Moonlight Shadow as well. They're coming to try to force us on the back end, and Poke Gaming be aware that they're coming. Oh no, they find it. There's gonna be from the Doom, Sonic Wave as well, catches 3 heroes. The Phantasm coming out from the DK, but there's a BKB available for the Monkey King. The Doom comes out to the DK, able to bring down the head, so the lightning damage from the small DK will bring him down as well. A.K.A will double his return by getting a quick kill onto Marana, who does fight back into the fight. They want to try to fight the Monkey King on the last couple of seconds of this Doom. Doom jumps in, find yet another war stop. Beautiful lock general. This fight Sparky might end up winning them the fight. As Shield gets a kill by finishing off this Rubik. Suddenly we have a very isolated Shadow Fiend who does still have BKB for the second life. They'll pump it, return home. But unfortunately for them, it is to be a teamwork practically. Poke Gaming, they lose out in this engagement. What an angle, what a way to start the fight. The War Storm from Doom, catching Monkey King on the high ground before he can pop the Wukong's BKB. Yeah, he still gets both rounds off, but a little bit of extra time that the rest of the team gets to come in allows them to eventually take the team fight.
Yeah, that was big. It was a really sick angle coming in there from Lonely Rock and Roll. Being able to fight outside of their base as well means that if they did lose that fight, yeah, they probably would have lost to Elena Rack, but at least they're able to make it costly for the side of Poke Gaming. They fight again. Okay, no BKB though.
Yeah, BKB available, but that goes both ways because the BKB also down opposite direction as well. As Archie went out
Radiant's top
and
tower
themselves getting
has
blown
fallen.
up. The cores are like, yeah, we actually do not want this smoke.
Looked good on paper, right? Like they're like, oh, they can catch the Shadow Fiend. Okay, he's got no BKB, and then they walk on Parker and they're like, oh, his whole team's here, and we also don't have BKB. So probably not the best spot. Sorry, went out. You will cop the old time around. Biggest thing for me though is real starting to get to some of these items they're going to make.
Dire's
Teams
bottom
might be
tower
keeping
is
up
under attack.
almost as also he can jump into the back line, take down.
Oh, picking up jumps with middle. A.K.A gets jumped into the double damage rune available for this Queen of Pain as well as the Sonic Wave coming in. They tried on Renfu Hadao to throw down the static store, but do BKBs make sure that that's not going to be a consideration. Dude, I must also be real. You know, we're giving him a little bit of stick for missing that first Sonic Wave that he tried inside Dominion Triangle. Since then, the Sonic Waves have been hitting multiple heroes and or the priority target every single time. What a glow up from him.
Yeah, I think he played pretty well in game number 1. This time around, he's really having to put a lot of work into this game. Like the fact that his Lonely Rock and Roll heroes streak up when it comes to the net worth. Doom is one of those heroes that has a little bit of inflated net worth, but the fact that BKN as well as Real are keeping parity with their cast, and even in some cases, in BKN's case, being able to beat out the Monkey King, right? Like he's gonna get to a point where it's really hard for them to deal with these Phantasm illusions. He's gonna have the heart built up, BKB as well. We'll get into this fight, get on top of one of the supports, blow them up, and then it's gonna be harder and harder for Longfur to get these Jingu stacks going because Doom really doesn't want to be in his face. The Quap's going to be hard for him to deal with. The Hoodwinks from the Rana are so slippery. And then if he's steady, they're trying to deal with a TK. He's got, you know, 2 other Brocks to try to deal with. You know, these Phantasm illusions are going to be relatively hard to deal with Longfur.
So Longfur getting onto the 30-minute mark in the game, and he still hasn't finished his Desolator. So it feels like by the time this comes out, it's not going to have that major punch of impact because they're itemized against it. Wildlife already has access to the plate mail, putting Shiva got the team. Peanut Pain was thinking Shiva's, but she opts AC and either way. They get max amounts of armor. They can now fight through the Wukong's command to try to get onto the SF. They believe they can fight right now. In fact, they smoke up to 4 heroes. They can all the way down bottom by himself. Underneath an observer ward, I'm not sure he knows about this, but he is a target. TP back. Can they cancel this in time? No, they cannot. So he's going to join his team. Let's see if they want to force a fight somewhere. The fight is in the middle of smoke.
Dire are scanning.
Who's going to stop the fight? Doesn't seem like anybody wants to.
If you're either one of these 2 teams, you need to make sure you get the jump on these key targets. So vision is going to be very, very important. Fighting around your vision. You can see that both these two places some on the high ground trying to play around their vision. If you get caught out, game is on a knife's edge.
Nobody wants to make that first mistake. Why, of course, has access to the War Storm still, with this Doom waiting in reserve. There's Stomp on both sides, mass amounts of damage on both sides, and see, nobody wants to take the big risk. So if there's a situation that feels like it can benefit Lonely Rock and Roll a bit, because they have a wave they can connect to in the top lane, sure on the tier 2 tower. I mean, yeah, sure, they might use tier 2 bottom, but dire tier 2 bottom is probably the tower you can least about in the entire game of Dota.
Yeah. So
Radiant's
really
structures
okay
are
with
fortified.
losing that one. Radiant's top tower is kind of okay with losing that tier 2 tower in the top lane. Does mean it's a little bit harder for them to buy back and return to Roche, but playing Radiant side, that's a natural issue anyways.
Thinking of Roche, the big man might be up in about 10 seconds. Let us see. It's going to be a nice long one or very quick and short. In the meantime, we do get more magical damage out of the Queen of Pain, and she picks up the level 20 talent for the Scream of Pain damage. And Roche, that's a nice long one there. 2 minutes 20 seconds.
Radiant's top tower.
Enough time for them to start getting a bit more of the items. And you can see both teams understand that they don't want to go into any of these team fights and be in worse positions. So Poke is the one to tear through that tower fast enough. Now we're going to have a fight. Oh no, really?
No, we get caught underneath the storm. Why? Just find the Doom onto the central. Not going to get that heat for the fight, but they still have the Wukong's command to be able to trigger a push and connect 1 to 3 heroes. But can they now take the fight? A.K.A shot going to be flying through. Bad doesn't go for BKB. Tripped up as well. If you don't want to try to blow up one of these targets, the damage is going to be out here. But the Requiem zoning back big cannon in illusion. As soon as the BKB and killer jump to him on the wall, that is going to be 3 heroes dead. None of them having buyback. All of
bottom barracks
the was still getting caught first. And without him, the lane of Rax. And then there's miracles that happen. Why? Just right now, get the huge Shivas out, but the max start, like you mentioned, there will be no usage of any further spell from him, and that is going to be 4 heroes done and dusted. They can't get Magnet. They still have a tier 2 tower in the mid lane. They haven't lost Rax in the top side of the map either, but massive damage inflicted in a very short span of time here. The side to the bottom side of the metal.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was talking about, right? Like, each one of these teams here make sure that they're getting the good initiation, and that was just the initiation you could have drew for Poke. Get in, catching it, a real static door, blowing up, no BKB, no nothing, no buyback. So, no Queen of Pain for them to play around with. It was a uphill battle from the start for Rock and Roll, and then the dude coming out on the killer, probably one of the worst dude targets for you. Yeah, I think with Stampede, but that just means that all these other heroes are going to be able to utilize all their spells. Refu Dow was able to kite out the BKB, catching it from Big Can as well. Eventually went down, and it was a little bit too much there for Lonely Rock and Roll, and things started to crumble really, really fast. So yeah, behind by net worth, and they want to see if they can get a fight going with all their spells still up.
Have 15 seconds until they have access to the Doom once again. With a critical stance for their team fighting first. That's what they want. Trying to draw attention and Doom just gets blown back a lot. He's gotten Ari. Static Soul dropped out onto the DK as well as Wenhao. So they do not have access to the Hoodwink for this fight. Hoodwink pretty much about to die. BKB is getting popped by Big Cat. He wants to run the hell out of here. And they actually managed to do the wicked. Stay alive here. BKB popped now by Rio, able to bring down this disruptor. And now you know if they might be able to take the fight. Trying to get it again stolen. How do they keep getting these ultimates for Aaron? That's a pretty huge one on level 4 spell amp. We do see Bocchi also getting caught out. No way does he TP out of here. They have the vision of the Observer Ward, gets pushed off by a small KK. Alright, and now the path to the Roshan lies very clear, and they're gonna go their reward. The 4 Venages and a free item shop.
Yeah. Well, they were a little connected, right? They just wanted to. They didn't want to commit onto killer, and was not first in the tree. He was more than happy to cop that initiation. And as soon as YOI goes down, I'm confident it's too easy for Poke. If they blow up the Doom, it'll look like come on first.
Going very low, but Reno the Silicon meets the bonus sonic wave! Oh my god, Aaron! Not only saving the life of this Monkey King, but ensuring the death of the Queen of Pain. And now Big Cat realizing it's broken low here. Very isolated, feeling very alone, feeling very dead, and the game feeling very over. As the side here of the lonely rock and roll, the movement tower, GG well played, home gaming, secure themselves a 2-0 victory here in game number 2. Man, that was an impressive game coming in from there.
If he's got these hawks coming through, you know, if there's no... We'll come back to this as they get the dive on, and everything I was saying is now inconsequential because Cloud has gone down, so Kami has to move away from these multiple kisses. There is still that buyback for the Beastmaster though. Let's see. Let's get himself back into this. The dive onto the back lines into the vortex as well. There's going to be a real nice dismember. The hooks come. Nice save. Though. He saves it. Cloud gets himself back into this now, and Kami is losing so much. Kami's going to go down. Did you get the kill onto Leppington there as well? So Mira with that freezing field, Mira will go down. Going down to the hooks. Yatsu still in that push roll. He's getting them back. They get the buyback out from the poach and Storm Spirit. Everybody from the side of Hydra. They don't want to be giving this one up now as well, but they take down Leppington once again. That's the dieback on the Disruptor, and Yatsu, what can he do? The hook, it's going to be blocked mid. Hook. This is the dieback on the Cloud. Cloud, can he get himself away from this one? He's still being harassed up by Collapse. One more right click, he goes down. That is going to be the Beastmaster dead for 115 seconds, and now the chase is on for the rest of the side of Hydra.
This Aghanims on the Morphling is just making him impossible to deal with. First of all, they use the little shredder on the Pudge to get rid of his armor. He has solid amounts of it, but it is just not enough. And then Yatoro just destroys him, and he knows that he can stand his ground because he cannot be stunned. He literally cannot be stunned. How do you stun water? Well, a lot of their damage, if not most of it, is on the Morphling.
Oh, the glimpse comes back though. Inside the Static Storm Mirror, he has that Lotus going, and now if Zofra actually dives a little bit further, the Thunder comes out. The Pod King, he's dove in, yeah. They're going to be able to get a kill onto the Storm Spirit. Can they take down the Pudge? They're going to be able to catch up and cancel off the TP. He's going to be dead. The Storm Spirit though, he has brought back, and they've got no kinetic field, no Static Storm. And like you say, they're even going to be able to get a lockdown onto Cloud. Everybody on the side of Hydra, they just overextended, and we praised them in the first game for respecting the power of team spirit here, but Hydra might have just lost the heads a little bit, and the buybacks, they're going to be forced out, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to defend this base with the Pudge being down, with no Static Storm for the next 27 seconds. Spirit, what can they get from this? I've been worried though, they're going to be able to get it. They get two, they do! They take them down, the cookie comes out, the Yatoro, freezing field, they might lose Happy. Is this the dieback? They do the break the Lincoln Sphere though. Morphlin. Law wants to come right back into this fight because he have the boots of travel to do it. It might take him a little bit longer now. No boots of travel though, so he's going to have to use the blinks. You know, just do it by foot, it seems.
Level 25 Storm with a beast stats of so much damage. They're going in for the Morphling. He doesn't have a buyback.
No, they get. Do they get the kill? He goes down. Warwick has to go down though. It's going to be him left alive. No, it's not. The creeps are pushing in. There's no buybacks available on the side of Hydra, and this is going to be 4 heroes, even with the death of the Morphlin. No way Warwick defends this.
It's pretty much over. They don't have the glyph. The game is over. They gave it their best. Hydra, they made Team Spirit work for it. The team that is most likely going to be at the top of Eastern Europe DPC Division 1.
Radiant's middle barracks Radiant's middle barracks has fallen.
Galaxy want to commit. There's just not enough damage. Crimson Guard, Atrophy Aura, Rubik's Fate Bolt, all this damage reduction. Let's see the combo. Bit of Malice. Strong in by the Disruptor, and now we're going to be hitting the win it back up once more. Bit of Malice, and Sumail is in it. They'll lose him in mind control. Right back towards Amara. Trying to run from everybody on the side of Game. Go ahead.
Radiant's middle barracks are under
Siphoning
attack.
and getting back into the base.
Has fallen.
Alive. Yeah, I think when it's time to call it, it is time to call it. They have no business left in this.
And didn't get the tether off or something.
think it got broken. Either way, I like the ghost up to purchase. That was pretty heads up, but we are back and there's a smoke action.
There's
23
Divine
looking
right
to end.
here. They're going in on Q. David. There's the hit. Can you get that hit off? 123. Knocked. What damage? He's dead.
Oh my god! Nothing! Jeez, less than 10% of his health.
I mean, I'm assuming that's
Okay.
just the game.
That, yeah, 100%. There's no point in talking about the rest
AU
of it.
picks it up. I shot him twice. To die yet.
Go away, you.
Oh my god.
Victory!
We finally get to see them have a little bit of lead. They need to have good vision, good execution to
Radiant
engage.
are scanning.
We're down up on high ground. Or Bulbica, Red Panda, this would be huge if we can find a Static Storm before the Tombstone. Not bad. Stun from Lulu. He's thrown now. There. Starting to drop down. I love TK control for the moment. He does manage to get that one away. And the Supernova down. TK barely surviving. And it's going to be one down as... Oh, White Album, the dodge, to hide away, the heal's coming in. They hoping for a save, but the PKB is out, and they're going to jump onto him, who has to back away. They have lost White Album again, and now Mango in trouble. Q is going to drop. Master, these fight so well, and they couldn't take down that Undying.
And remember, it's ages, so they didn't really care about giving away. That's the bot. Big finish, profits.
Stun is out on the play. Didn't have a BKB available. Bulbica dropping low, the 10 spots back in. They have another kill off Bulbica. Doesn't look like he cut the black hole is there. That's on the edge. He doesn't have multi to come back. And after, they might take full advantage. Move.
Radiant's bottom
Rax
has fallen.
up the bottom. Finally, Aster full advantage. They're building.
Radiant's
Yeah, I mean,
middle tower is under attack.
Oh, just for a brief second, had more network. There it is, back again with the higher network. When you click on the L, it's not really an inspiring network. Blink, BKB, Radiant. You might be able to get on top of a hero, but that's not the shot that's able to 100-0 here. Like even this Undying inside Static Storm, about able to then get up the slash column from away.
Back, they have that trying to keep him alive. Makes the move, and again, into this fight without Monet here. It's pretty good for them. Right album, but now Monet shows up. Now they're in a lot of trouble. But they do he managed to kill him. Okay. All right. Pops ulti. Now the turn. Punching. Really getting away. Sort of survived that first salvo. Very strong. Supernova down. Pops the PKB. Ooh, he's just caught here. They want to get the kill. That's really himself. And now the chase. The avalanche, the toss. Thinks he's going to give up his life also. Then Monet, he's way too strong. This might just be the full set of racks going down bottom. Aster, way too strong for Ares.
Like Aaron did
GP.
Oh,
They're done.
Okay.
I was wondering. It looked like it was that type of game.
Yeah, it kind of was. It's like a game where you're an out, not really ever been in the league.
Victory.
He hasn't really never protected himself.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Standing. How are they just standing right now? I can't help but fidget with my hero half the game.
I'll be running around in circles.
Yeah. Pirouetting on the spot. The song. Blinking from Pure. They see Yatoro. 3 lined up. Potentialized path play. They're trying to go in. Toronto Tokyo blown up by Collapse. Has to buy back. Yatoro gets up with BKB. Pure with another song. Sprints in. Who are they aiming for? Where is the target acquisition? They can't catch anybody. Collapse. BKB runs down south. Lol being chased out as well. Oh my god, Nightfall. Hazy on disc refresher. Blinks to high ground. Gets away from danger for now. Pure. What's he up to? He's back to the high ground too. Mirror image out. Aegis claimed. Lol in the fire. Still surviving and blowing up GPK. Team Spirit
to do.
Sprinting out their base. They don't catch Nightfall on the way out. He's blinked out of the range of Mirror. They're still hunting though, and he's going to find Toronto Tokyo. Who cares, Gem? I see Jakiro. Eon disc popped. And with this rapier damage, like short work and a twin-headed dragon.
Unstoppable. Laurel, the collapse waiting in the back line actually worked. He stormed out of the tree line and he just then started eviscerating the 2 supports with the help of Laurel. He completely jumped over. They dodged everything that Naga was trying to set and prep there. And Yadoro was also just firing the cannon from the top there. Did the combined damage of Collapse and Laurel together. He is a monster.
Oh, Pure. Lol. Oh, God. Nightfall's gonna get a bit of vision here with the Hawk.
Imagine.
Can they?
Imagine.
Will they?
They have to do something kind of crazy.
They're gonna be losing their base pretty soon. Lash has buyback. Naga Beastmaster have to get back to base to defend. Drow Rangers up here. Tier 3 gone. Barracks to follow.
There's no buyback of Collapse though. That's a big one. And Mira.
Radiant structure.
Look at all the wolves. Look at all the summons. It's vulnerable. Gets away from there. Help of the Clement Cave to jump in from Lol. Disruption, self-save. Barracks taken out. Lol. Oh, tries to fight. Nightfall. He'll just pop, but he can't get any control of Lol. It's Lol. Puck is all over the place. Now they go into GPK though. Aiming for the puck. They're going to find him at long last. They get him and the rapier's on the floor.
He messed up the phase shift. He canceled it.
Oh no.
Oh, you see that? I'm not crazy, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he phase shift and accidentally ended it.
There's an Axe Blessing recipe. There's a rapier. There's all sorts of stuff everywhere.
An Axe Blessing recipe. What's that there? Okay. Not sure what the story on that one is. Meanwhile, Save, I think he had a refresher charge, right? Because Laurel dove him, he disrupts himself, and he tries to kill him again after it. Save just refreshes, and then uses it again. How did they not got the rapier?
That was another DD. I don't think they care. Toronto Tokyo is going to take it, is he? Oh yes, the Jakiro with the rapier.
Coming to feed it back to them, guys.
My goodness. There's Mega Creeps on one side. Top lane Barracks still standing on Team Spirits. We're waiting for next Roshan, Trent.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like BetBoom have such a good chance of winning these fights right now. They can't get like swarmed in the back line.
They missed the stun on BK. He's trying to hold his ground, but look at the dodge. Oh my god, Yatoro shreds. Where'd he go? Daedalus hits, refreshes, blinks forward, kills off Save as well. SD's gone, TP home. Get the hell out of here, BetBoom now.
Lucky he didn't coil. Dude. Leshrac vanished.
He looked okay until he didn't.
Until he got hit for 1,350 damage from a single right click. Yeah. Yeah. Right until that.
Ow.
Luckily, Toronto Tokyo was not there to feed the rapier back, so that's good.
And now Team Spirit running down lanes, coming for the Radiant base. Balls are still there to hold on to. But this has got to be mentally debilitating for BetBoom.
71 minutes.
Team Spirit is wearing them down.
The admins have been on, they told them, nope, these guys. The longer this game goes, the harder things are.
Well, it's like Moomiander was saying in that Seb documentary. This isn't Dota you're playing. This is a slogfest. You're going to wait it out and play 60-minute games. Long as one, there's a long line. Watch get very far forward. He unders from Mira. but the Undying will fall inside the Radiant base. He'll as Mira gets off one last finger of death, and the turn we got through. They kill GPK. It's a dialect of the ledge. Naga now in trouble. Song of the Siren trying to buy a bit of time, but Yatro moves forward, gets the damage in. Will is dead. Oh god, it all comes crumbling apart for that boom now. Wait, back. They're on to Mira. The kill off Nightfall will save though, and lol, he opens up on them. The howitzer is here. Massive 40 mil cannon just shattering into that boom. Drow saved by the rip. The soul is everyone dying. There's two. And she's called it over. Team Spirit.
Look at him. Look at Mira.
Oh my god.
The shard to anybody who would listen at the Lima Major.
Was nope.
Which, yeah, nobody's taking him up on it yet. But if you see a shard being picked up by any team that was at the Lima Major that speaks English, then you could probably sort of
It's good. I'm like, this shard is actually good. I don't know when, and I don't know how you get there. That's so cool.
I actually about a better game as a word recently with the shard.
Oh, pretty good.
I think that's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Slark with that shard is crazy. It's actually a broken strat. If Jowly wants to use it still on top, he can take that.
Maybe that everybody needs to get back on top.
Shadow walk his way back to the top. And then if you read it for 1,000 comments, but because I say it and nobody tells me.
I will say the other good thing about Bounty Hunter, but is we've got two different memes here. The Bounty Hunter shard, the Magnus Ags. He does have extremely high damage. And against probably has highest base armor, starting base armor in the game, which can make him really good at the laning phase for trading.
Yeah, he's versatile. Terrible. Oh, yeah. And frontline a little bit of the shield support, but again,
Dyer's middle tower is
the levels of the big ball.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. PSM FTX victory!
Midas was being, they have an inkling that this is going on, but they jump forward, find the Son of Spectre. The Doom is there, Force Staff keeping him alive and on the other side of the fissure, but there's way too much damage, and the rundown is going to be there. MC is gone, GH is gone, and looking for more. 9 jumps back in, finds Kuro too, tries to get out of there, does not have a way to escape. Mar is completely under control, he too is gonna die. Buybacks are coming in. Amar realizes he can't do that cancel TP, but eyes on the prize. Thunder trying to close this one out, close this series out with a quick 2-0 as they set their sights now onto the tier 4 towers. There is a buyback still on Spectre, but no the BKB is out though, and now the turn, the break, the finish. Amar dies a second time. MC on top of snaking managed to find that kill. Sumail still controlled, does manage to get the blink back and away. MC, they're gonna go back in for more. They can't, but Sumail, away just barely. Sumail got to be controlled. They got him there with the Gleipnir, and it's only MC left alive as Tundra start hitting these tier 4 towers.
This Unleash with the damage coming through from the sidekick now as well. Dodge Buckle though, it's actually going to be the Molten stealing that Pango form. And he's doing anything about this because it's going to be hexed out. Could he have the damage to kill him off? It looks like this one's going to get low. He's right now, but he's not going to be able to get the kill. In fact, he just drag him closer to him. Be able to clean up the side of one move. They have no cause now. And A.K.A, the only one left alive in terms of cause. 3 heroes dead for the next at least 70 seconds. And this is going to be it. Yeah, Bedroom just come in. They're going to start to go up the base. Not even needing to go for Baggers here. As you can see, they just will end it here and now. In fact, even diving into the bounce now as well, when the hook comes out, Molten is this going to be a good, he's got Satanic, he's got to force that away to tell him to save coming up from Bay. He's then really cocky on this Molten, but it's paying off, and yeah, they're just going to be able to dive into the bounty once again, and the bouncing farm these heroes, cleaning it up. GG is going to be called after 45 minutes here. One move, they look great in game number 1, they look pretty good in game number 3 here as well, but Bedroom, they just had enough out of them in game number 2.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant
away from enemy.
No,
It's
like,
not
your guys are
really
just dying
getting them
because of
anything against Watson. We see they got so bad down. I think it's
generally
save
core
him.
the vital DPC is also good with the strategy, which is why the replay was super
Oh, that's first blood. And then you get more minus armor out of acid spray for a physical damage nuke of an unstable concoction. It's a deadly mixture.
Somebody to come out.
You're ready for the answer for Kingsley.
It's on him. Toss up in the air. They get a kill here on Rubik. He's going to find out what goes in, but now it's going to be throw him in. No, they can't. Watson needs some damage. Look at that. It's not enough. Heroes don't have 5 8 to call it. They
You're going
have
to have to play to defend how powerful
Yeah, we'll finish him off. Lots of beyond
Radiant's
godlike.
bottom tower.
That's going to be 2-0 here for the side of
He's not having a whole lot of fun with this. 10 stick charges, and he did manage to at least hit the nuke stacks off of the Bound of Strength.
Then refuses to commit.
Sanaba. Venice. Radiant are scanning. Dire are scanning.
Warriors of the wood.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Сейчас поиграем. Сейчас поиграем.
Ancient is under attack.
Ultimately, this game kind of comes down to just who jumps who. This person. And stuns. There you go.